Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. This is an early start for most of you guys out there. Thank you very much for joining in. I know it's probably early for some people and it's late for some other people because it's lunchtime, dinner time, and very, very early morning, depending on where you are in the world, because let's face it, this is the World Wide Web at the end of the day. My name is Simon. I am the stupid astronomer because I do the stupid things that you don't have to. That was my cat that decided to run away. So, oh well. She's always a part of it, so you will see her running around my keyboard and my desk and stuff like that. But more importantly, enough about me. I have with me both Barney from Fujifilm and Caroline Tran, who does a lot of wedding photography. I mean, she makes me look terrible, to be totally honest. So I'm gonna get you guys. Yeah, I'm gonna get you guys to introduce yourselves because obviously nobody knows yourself better than yourself. So let's start with you, Barney.
All right. Well, I'm Barney Tong. I've been a Fujifilm sales rep for a little over 22 years now. Just celebrated my 22nd anniversary. We've seen a lot of changes. Film was king back when I started with the company. Now things have evolved, and now that things have really evolved with COVID-19 and all this other good stuff, we're so happy to be able to use the technology tools that we have today to bring great photographers like Caroline Tran to you from all over the world. I think that's a really, really good thing that we get today, because if we did this in person, there'd be probably 15, 20, maybe 30 at the most. And it's not about the numbers, it's about, sharing with everybody. So we're happy to be able to bring Caroline to you all. And I'll stop talking because you really want to hear Caroline.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Caroline. For those who don't know a little bit about my background, I actually got my bachelor's in physics and wanted to go into astrophysics.
Really?
Yeah. But then I realized into upper division that I actually enjoyed human interaction a lot more rather than being in the lab. And so I decided to get my master's in science education instead, and I taught physics for 5 years. So it feels like it's like come full circle with you guys, but yeah, still working. It
does.
Yeah, still working with optics, I guess, but just different subject on the other side of the lens.
A little bit of a side question then, because I didn't know this until you just mentioned it then. Have you done any type of astrophotography or Milky Way photos and things like that?
I haven't. I would love to. I don't have any of that kind of access to that kind of gear.
Well, actually, your GFX can already do it, believe it or not.
Tell me more.
Oh, we'll have to talk afterwards,
Yeah.
because otherwise this will turn into a completely different conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
It's crazy.
Awesome. But yeah, so a little bit about me. Photography wise, I shoot primarily with a GFX, and so I shoot all medium format. I shoot either with my GFX if it's digital, or I use a Contax 645 with Fuji 400H film when I'm doing film. I find that those two combination gives me like a really cohesive look between film and digital when I'm working, like say with both mediums in one session. I also use an X-T3 primarily for my video work and some commercial stuff, or if I don't want to carry such a big camera around. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me. But I would say that my specialty, or what makes my photos uniquely mine, is that I tell stories with my photos. Whether it's a human subject on the other end, or a product, or a company that I'm shooting for, there's always a story to unfold, and that's what I like to do. So today I wanted to jump on and share with you just 3 things that I think are essential in creating moving portraits. Like, how do you create something that moves you, and what makes a moving photo? So if you think about, like, some of the photos that really spoke to you, what were some of the common things that you can think about that they all had? usually I'm used to speaking to a live group, so I like taking live audience
Don't worry,
participation.
we're gonna substitute for that.
Yeah. So if you want to think about it, you can always, and you're catching it on rebroadcast, I suppose you can always pause to think about it. But um, I will jump a little bit ahead and give you a little bit of clues. But yeah, so these are some photos that I feel spoke to me. Like, regardless of how long ago I created them, they still hold like really sentimental meanings and to me. So I'm going to go through a few of them, and I want you to try to think about what these have in common. Like the story of her baby still in the tummy, and then now the newborn life. You know, baby eventually starts sitting up. This one, I think baby just turned 1. Now a sibling on the way, grows into a family of 3, you know, and just that mother pride of motherhood. So for me, these were moving portraits, and what they all have in common is that 1, they tell a story. 2, there's a mood to them, and that's created by the lighting. So as the artist, as the director, I set the mood for you so that when you were viewing these photos, the lighting already created and established the mood that I wanted you to feel. And then lastly, the subjects themselves show emotions, which as the director, it's our jobs to bring that out of the subjects, right? So, you know, you can't create like a really loving photo if your subjects are super stiff and not showing any emotions, right? So yeah, you have to first know what story you're trying to tell, then you control it by creating the right lighting, and then the third thing is directing, now getting your subjects to reciprocate. So let's talk about telling a story. So how do we tell good stories in our photos, whether it's a single photo or a series of photos? But the first thing that you have to ask yourself is, who are the characters in your story? So I wanted to share a little story about this here. I got the privilege of traveling to Ecuador with to document this rose farm here. What struck me about him was that he has been in the rose industry. He has been he breeds his own roses too. So, and he's been growing them for like 46 years or something. So roses is like a big passion of his, right? And for me, I love passionate people. I love people who are like experts and really good at what they do. And he knows roses like the inside out, you know, and his story was fascinating to me. And so for me, he was my main character. And how can I document this in a way to capture his story? So in this single photo alone, there are several things that I was able to pick up. One is his quirkiness. You see his red glasses with his red suspenders. You see his passion, like the roses, him being in his element. But also, like, I think he manages, like, I think 1,000 employees or something like that, you know? So I feel like there's also that sense of authority that I was trying to capture with him as well. And so I followed him around for a day, telling his story, and something as simple as watching him walk through his roses. I just felt like that was a typical day in his life. Like, how many rows of these roses must he walk through in a single day? And so for me, you know, that is like such a snapshot of his life, and then a close-up detail of like the things that he is so passionate about. But he also has a granddaughter. You know, this is like his legacy here. something that he's passed on his passion to. And she loves running through the fields as well. A little bit of lifestyle of her, life of her. She lives in America. She was there visiting him. And she was, this is like part of her childhood memory that she's going to have, visiting grandpa's rose farm, right? So for me, how can I document this for him now? This is part of his story, his legacy. So one tip that I have for you as you're telling stories is you have to find three different perspectives of the same situation. So anytime you're trying to shoot one thing, try to see if you can find three different angles. So for this situation, for example, I got the front of her, and that's kind of like a medium shot. I got a detail shot, a really close up shot of her flowers. This flower is named, her name was Martina, and he named this rose after her, the Martina rose. So she has her own breed of roses that he supplies. And then a shot from behind of her walking away, right? So the three different angles gives your viewers perspective to what they are seeing. And so the other way that you can see perspective as well is like a wide shot, something that's scenic. So something like this that captures like the, how vast this farm is. And then something closer, like of just her, and then something even closer, which is like the details of just the flowers. And then as you're telling stories, I encourage you to dig deeper. There are deeper stories with each of the people that you're trying to tell. And a lot of times, my clients and my colleagues will joke that my sessions are like therapy sessions, because I feel like unless you can break down that barrier, they're only going to show you the superficial side of them. And if you want to be able to draw out more genuine emotions and more intimate stories, you have to dig deeper with them. And you can only do that by building trust. You have to get into their inner circle. And so for him, I dug deeper with his story. And so, yes, he's a very stoic man. I love this shot of him. It was a candid shot. He was giving me a tour of the place. And because I kept stopping to take pictures at stuff, he was getting a little bit like, come on, keep up now. Like, why are you always so behind? And so he was looking back to see, like, am I catching up with him? And I just, that look with him, with his giant warehouse behind him, and I love that moment because of the down casting of light, it caught like the bags under his eyes. But I feel like that really shows the weight on his shoulders that he carries, caring for these 1,000 employees. On his facility, he has education, a cafeteria, dental office, like for all of his employees. So he does like really take care of them like a family, and it shows in the pride of their work as they're doing this too. But I wanted to capture that too. I think that was really important. And a little bit more of his sensitive side. As stern as he is, he's also in some ways delicate, like the roses that he cares for. And that's the part that I'm trying to unearth for him. These are portraits he's never had taken before for himself. He thought I was just going to be shooting some pictures of his roses. He actually didn't really expect that I was going to dig this deep into him. But I love stories, and I just felt like this is such a fascinating man. Like, how many people live and breathe roses like this? Like, we all have our expertise, but when someone is so good at something, I was like, I want his granddaughter to be able to remember this. And this is what the story, that the intentions that I went in with this is like, I'm gonna document all sides of his personalities and all facets of his operations. A little bit like playful moment. I love how the yellow boots and the yellow rose and the yellow in the gal's gown. She's a friend of mine, but yeah, this was like a little playful moment and again, it was candid. He was sharing this particular breed of roses with her, but I just thought, like, what a sweet moment, and it's a break from the stern side that his people are used to seeing. Then I asked him, what is your favorite rose? When you start asking people for more personal, like information like this, it starts to dig a little bit deeper. And at the surface, it's like, okay, so this is his favorite rose. But no, I dug deeper. I asked more. Turns out this was a special rose that he bred himself, that he created, that he blended and made a hybrid. And it's his baby, like it's his favorite rose, but even the way he cradled it and hugged it, like, and the pride in his face. I know for most of us, roses are roses, and you don't know the difference between like a Costco rose or an Ecuadorian rose. But I think these roses sell for like $12 a stem. So they're like very high end roses. So you can imagine like buying someone a dozen of these, right? Um, but again, because I was able to ask him questions and let him talk about his passion, I was able to get out some of these more warm moments of him. Um, and one thing to expect during this process is resistance. No one really wants to share like their layers with you. Everyone is used to sharing like the outside layer, right? But to dig deeper, it takes a little bit of effort and genuine care for people, and they can feel that. So because I was able to develop a relationship with him, when I had this crazy idea, I had this thought, what if I got him to lay down in a bed of roses? And this is like so out of character um, for Hefe, but um, to get this shot, what I did was, I don't even remember how I had this idea. I think I just wanted to do an aerial shot. So I climbed up on his roof. And a little bit of background about his estate, like they have bodyguards. Like we weren't allowed to leave without one of his bodyguards. He had security, he had his personal assistant and like guards at the place. So when they saw me, I asked one of his help for a ladder. They had no idea what I was up to. And suddenly the guards see me running on the roof of his house. They were all like, what is this girl doing? And so I'm running on the roof of the house, finding the perfect spot that I can get this angle. And mind you, it's Ecuador. It's literally like on the equator, high noon, super hot. Like at one point, I actually got a little bit lightheaded on the roof because um, it was so hot. The sun was beating so hot. And then my friend who I traveled with, the girl that you saw receiving the rose, she actually had like elevation sickness and had to be on oxygen for like, yeah, she was like out of commission for 2 days trying to adjust to the altitude. So in hindsight, probably not the smartest thing to do, but I had the shot that I really wanted to get. And so in order to get this shot, I brought an assistant up. Um, and I laid down like a plank. So if you picture the roof is like this, I laid down on like a plank overhanging the roof, and I had him sit on my legs to make sure that I didn't fall over. So I was a lever. I became a lever reaching over the rooftop to make sure that I was able to get this, and I had him sitting on my legs. And he was a big guy, so I think it was the weight was okay, distribution was okay. Good thing I know physics, I guess, right? um, and so then I had someone else no, I was the one running up and down. I would run down, place the placement of the roses, run back up to see if I liked it. And I had to do that a few times. Then once I had the perfect spot, I had a dummy lay down, like a stand-in lay down and make sure that it was right. Then I would go into the house and I ask him, like his name is Carlos. I was like, Carlos, I have this crazy idea. Would you be willing to come out and give it a shot? And he's like, okay. So he comes out and I was like, will you lay here for me? So the funny part about this was while waiting for me to run back up the roof, he's laying in super hot sun. And I don't think it was the healthiest. So I had one of his security guards help hold a cardboard, like just to give him shade in the meantime so that he doesn't overheat. But I wish I had taken a picture of my perspective, because all you see was all of his employees gathered around laughing and getting such a kick out of seeing this side of their boss that they had never seen before. And they were all with their cell phones taking pictures because it was hilarious to them. But for me, like, what a joy and an honor that was to be able to create this for him, because now for any of his family members, for his granddaughter who looks at this picture, she's going to not only remember like the stern side of her grandfather that most people see, but the playful side of him as well. And this is why um, their employees were getting such a kick out of it. And for him, this was a memorable experience too, because this was a side of him that he's not necessarily shared with anyone. So for me, like, when you can tell not just any story, but a deep, intimate story, almost like a secret, as like a side that most people haven't seen of someone, that's going to be a moving photo. And it's a real um, honor and very satisfying to achieve. So the second,
Couple of questions before you move on.
yes.
Is this all taken with film, or is this digital specifically?
All of the Ecuador stuff was digital. Yeah. But the previous stuff leading up to it, that was all film. Like all of the family and baby stuff. Yeah. I didn't travel to Ecuador with film. I just didn't know what the situation was.
Okay. Just out of interest, so you mentioned there was a slide that says these guys resist.
Yeah.
So the big thing here is, what do you normally do to get that resistance to go away? Because a lot of portrait photographers have the same situation where they're taking somebody's portrait and you get a lot of resistance. You get a very, very artificial shot of not what that person is, but what they want to perceive. In other words, it's like here's my Instagram, let's find the light type scenario.
Right.
How do you get into their heads? Because I have my own methods to get into their heads. What are you doing to try and get them? Because I can guarantee you, this guy probably never would have laid down on the floor and had these roses strewn around. I mean, you probably got like a couple of $100 worth of inventory on the floor already.
Yeah. I think one of it is empathizing and letting them talk and trying to find out what it is. So if you can start finding, everyone has like, you have to find like that little door, that little gateway to get into. And if you can start getting them to talk about something that they're really passionate about, that helps. And like I said, it feels like therapy in some ways. It's just asking the right questions about them, ask open-ended questions. And there are some clients where the connection is a lot easier than others, because some you either might have common interest. And so once the common interest hits it, it just goes, right? So it's finding that connection point. And so keep asking questions about them. Ask what their hobbies are, what they do as a profession, where they grew up. You're looking for anything that has that little key of connection that you can then dive deeper into. And yeah, I mean, in the posing section of this talk, I'll share a little bit more about things that you can do to break the ice and warm them up. Yeah, good question. All right, so the next thing is lighting sets the mood. So once you have your story, right? So the first step was find out what that story is. So if I didn't conclude part one well enough, you have to first, you're talking to them, you're trying to figure out what that narrative is and establish that narrative. So once you know, okay, got it, and this is the story I want to tell about him. Once you know that, then now you have to establish the lighting, because that's going to set the mood. So for example, the lighting in this photo, gives very romantic feeling, right? It's light, it's loving, it's warm, which is like beautiful for these kind of portraits. And it just warms your heart, right? It's like such warm light, soft light, romantic light, sweet, versus something like this. And but again, different narrative, different mood, right? So when I'm shooting my weddings, typically people want something more light, and this is the light that I go for. When this was a commercial shoot that I did, they don't want it like light and airy necessarily like that. This is supposed to like inspire someone to work out it's a little mysterious and a little like more edgy and hard, right? So this was, I went for a harder light, which gave a totally different mood than the other one. And for a project that I did with Profoto and Fuji, um, this was done during quarantine. So the only subject I had was myself, but I set up a tripod. These were taken only minutes apart. Same exact spot, different light, different lighting setup. You know, one I set it up with this. So this was taken with my GFX and the Profoto A1X when it had just come out. And so one gives like a much more like ethereal kind of feel, and one gives like a more mysterious feel, right? But both of them, I was playing around with motion. So I was kind of going for um, that mystery in the sense of that nothing is quite in focus, but one gave like a much more dark feeling, whereas the other one had a more light feeling. Here's another example of a commercial shoot that I did recently in my studio. So this one versus this one, same exact spot, lit totally differently, right? But same exact spot, totally different vibe. If you so lighting, with lighting, you have the power to really control the mood and the feeling that you give your photos. So this one has like a more kind of mystery and, you know, vibe to it. And this one is more like light, airy, carefree, right? So that's so coming into the shoot, coming into this shot, I already knew the mood that I wanted to set with them. This one, I was kind of going for like that kind of mysterious post-workout, um, obviously geared for a guy kind of feel. And then this one, I was going more for approachable and something that would appeal to even females and more of a mass, broader audience. So your lighting has the ability to transform the mood that the viewer has when they're looking at your photo. So if you look at the photo on the left here, um, this is like very dreamy and ethereal. You know, I backlit this one. And when you look at this, the couple looks like they're so like, yeah, it's just very romantic. And then the shot on the right, I went for something more playful. And so with the lighting, I chose to front light them to get that more light, that more colorful and playfulness, and which I felt matched their mood better. So both of these were shot on Fuji 400H medium format. I could go more into lighting, but if you are looking for a quick guide, I created a free PDF download. So you can either text light to that number, or you can go to that URL and grab like a more concise with lighting tips for you on that. So you can pause it if you need to grab that. And then posing and directing is the last thing to complete your story. So you know the story you want to create. You now have established the lighting. Now, how do you get your subjects to reciprocate that look that you are going for? So for me, there's a couple things to look out for. The first thing is you got to establish what angle you want to shoot it at. Are you going to be looking down at them? Are you going to be at eye level to them? Or are you going to be looking up to them? It achieves kind of different things. So this is also a commercial shoot that I did. This is shot on medium format film as well, 400H. So you can see on the left, I shot from a down up angle. And on the right was a little bit higher than eye line, a little higher than eye level, which them being so tall, I don't know how I got taller than them. I must have been standing on something. But the difference between the mood that it establishes, the one where I'm looking up at them makes them look more powerful, right? It almost feels like they're towering over me. It gives them this sense of like command over the viewer. It makes them look taller as well. It's less about the scene because you don't see as much depth. I don't know if you can see my mouse, probably not. But if you look at the background, you don't see as much depth in the scene, but it's not about the scene at this point. It's kind of looking up at them. On the right, it establishes more of the setting. You could see like further down into the scene what it looks like. But now they kind of look not as intimidating. They just look like ordinary people, right? So the angle that you choose can also play up on the um, the story that you want to tell about a person. Here's another example that I did during quarantine. It's how you can instantly look taller. So if you shoot someone from down, like if you look at the left, that was shot down, and on the right, it was shot up. So your camera angle can suddenly make someone appear a lot taller or more authoritative as well. So pick your angles wisely. Here's another one. This one was shot at a Fuji event that I did with Barney. We were doing headshots for people. So this was one of the attendees. And if you see the photo on the left, it was still above his eye line. I should have done one from below just so you can see like kind of setting that more authoritative look, but we were shooting these like super quick. I think we had like 30 people to get through in a short time. So I didn't have time to readjust the lighting for it. But you do see compared to the right where I shot down at him, suddenly on the one on the right, he looks a lot more like young and innocent and like what's the word, like not submissive, but like more like the viewer is dominant in this photo, whereas the one on the left, he looks more like he has more control, right? So these angles can really establish the role of your subjects. And then the way you pose the people can also determine, if you look on the photo on the left, the thing that I always say is like, as photographers, we hold so much power because we have the ability to manipulate the viewer's perspective on any situation, right? We could make, like they say, like a scene look super crowded by choosing one angle, or you could make it look like totally empty. For example, at this beach, when I did the shoot, it was a packed day. This was pre-quarantine. This was in Malibu, and it was packed. There were people in every single angle, but I was able to shoot it in a way that looked like they had the whole beach to themselves. We have that kind of power as photographers. We also have the power to control the narrative of someone. So on the photo on the left, I'm trying to convince you that this couple is a super romantic, like uber romantic type of couple. Versus the one on the right, I'm now showing you that they're super playful. They're a playful type of couple. Or I can even show you that, oh, they're kind of stiff and stoic type of couple, right? So depending on how you pose your subjects, you're going to be telling that story. So again, like, be intentional with how you are directing them, because that is going to control the story, the outcome of the story. So you can also take a look here, some quick tips I put together. If you want moving portraits, you're going to have to pose and direct them for 3 objectives. One, to quickly break the ice and warm them up. If they are not warmed up, if you have not lowered that wall, like I mentioned earlier, you're only going to get a very superficial side of them. So you need to break down those barriers so that you can get a little bit more deeper, intimate stories. The second thing, what you have to do with posing and directing is you have to get them in the right mood. So for example, if I want them to be really romantic, and if I want the mood to be really soft, I will also lower my voice. I will suddenly slow down the pace of my talking to them and guide them through, like, okay, so now why don't you use your hands and grab her face, gently swipe, your hand across her cheek. So this is a very different mood than if I said, gently swipe your hand across her face, right? So this is, and I guess this also comes into lens choice as well. So for me, when I'm doing intimate portraits, like, using a 200 millimeter lens while you get beautiful compression isn't going to work, because that's what, gently swipe, gently like whisper something into her ear, right? That's not going to be able to get them to come out with the right mood. So this is where you would want to be on something closer. I shoot medium format, so I prefer something more like an 80 millimeter, which is equivalent to something like a 50 millimeter on a full frame. Yeah, on a full frame. But that allows me to still have the nice bokeh, like the nice compression in the bokeh, but allows me to be close enough to them that I'm not yelling at them, right? Because if I want it to be like a soft and whispery mood, I also have to be in a soft and whispery mood for them. If I want it to be playful, then I also have to be upbeat. It's like, pick her up, give her a spin, and cheer them on, right? And so as the director, it's our jobs to get those moods from them. They don't know what image you're trying to create. They don't know what the mood you're trying to evoke. So you have to direct them to pull these out of them. And then that brings out the third point is pull these emotions from them. Once you get them in that right mood, either ask the right questions, give them the right prompts so that they can now also be reciprocating the mood that you are looking for.
Hey, Caroline, I have a
Yeah.
question regarding breaking the ice and allowing your clients to warm up. What kind of tips might you have to break the ice? Because
Yeah.
break down the barriers, because that's
Yep.
that's hard to do sometimes with people that you don't really have a relationship with.
Right. So I want to give you, and I actually have an example for that. So this was a real engagement session that I did. This couple showed up almost an hour late to their photo shoot. It was supposed to be golden hour shoot. So we had 30 minutes left of sunlight to shoot. I never met this couple in person before. As a lot of my engagement couples, a lot of my engagement couples, I don't meet them in person prior to the shoot because they're either destination or, people are just busy and don't have time to meet up. And so we do a lot of phone call consultations, and then I'm meeting them for the first time in person on set. Same thing with commercial shoots. My models, I'm meeting them for the first time on set. And sometimes for commercial shoots, I have to make people who are not even couples, right? The male and the female are meeting for the first time. How do I make them look like a couple? So I have a strategy that I have since called pickup points, but the purpose of this is like how to quickly break the ice with these couples and how to be able to get these emotions from this couple. So keep in mind, I only met them like probably just minutes before starting to shoot them. But you know that quote from Abraham Lincoln, like, if you gave me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So same thing with this. Even though they arrived late and we only had 30 minutes to shoot, it would not have been as successful had I just immediately plopped them in front of the camera and start shooting, because I wouldn't have had direction. They wouldn't have been trained, right? So, and when I say trained, like I kind of train my couples into my cues, and so that they know what I mean quickly when I say like nose to nose, that they'll know immediately what I mean by that pose. I train them about the chin, the double chin. So, but I do it real subtly. And maybe this is just where my teaching background kicks in again, but um, there's ways that once you've shown them a few times, they will then know immediately. I just have to say chin and they know exactly what I mean by chin.
Yeah, I've got to
So,
admit, I do a similar thing in that perspective, because what I'll do is the first dummy shots is what I refer to it is. I take a bunch of shots that are just throwaways. They have no value. And maybe I might pull off one, but I sit there and I pose them constantly, and I'll make them do every pose in my head, but they don't realize they're practicing it. So
yeah.
when I get to that point, when I take the shot, they know where I'm getting to and they just get into it.
Yep. Yeah. That's a great way to do it. I mean, what in those initial dummy shots, as you say, what I'm looking for is their optimal angles. Some people have a better side than others, so I'm determining that, and that's going to in the future tell me which side to put who on if I ever have them go side by side. Um, that I'm also trying to figure out, I'm also using that time to strike up those conversations that I was talking about. And so I play a lot of games with them. I that helps them get silly. And so it does two purpose. One, it makes us laugh, and two, it makes it helps me get to know them a little bit more. So for example, like um for one of these, like I might, and it works really well with big group photos too, but you can say like, look at the person who spends the most money, and so it's like, or look at the person who sleeps in the latest, look at the person who's most likely to fart. Like it's it works for couples, it works for group photos, but it's funny, they laugh about it, but it also helps you get to know them, because for that I have had couples before where I did the farting joke, and so one of the things I'll have them do, like for example, the photo on the right where he's making her laugh so much, one of the prompts that I'll say is like, oh, whisper to her the first time you farted in front of her. Tell her that story of when that first happened. Um, and this quickly allows me to know what kind of couple they are, because they'll either be really into it and think it's so funny, or I did have a couple who literally, the guy's like, I've never farted in front of her. And I was like, okay, like I get, like, barriers are a little bit higher to get past, because if he's either lying, or they haven't spent enough time together. I don't know how he's never farted in front of her before. And I believe they cohabitate too. So there's like, I was
Yeah,
like,
it's going to happen whether you like it or not.
exactly. So part of me, like what I like about these situations is that and that's why people say that it feels like therapy, because I'm jumping into some of like the most intimate and awkward questions and like, let's address this, you haven't yet, we're going to talk about this today. But yeah, so with my posing with my couples, what I do is, so pickup points is essentially like, how whenever you're posing, sometimes you get to this point where you hit like kind of like a creative stall. It's like, what do I do next? I don't know, like you just feel stuck. So for me, the story real quickly about it came from when I was playing piano, and I was at a recital, at a test, an exam, and I was playing a song, Bach two-part inventions for those who play piano, but your right hand plays one song, your left hand plays a different song essentially, and it has to go at the same time. And I stumbled and I couldn't pick it back up again. And I tried and I tried and I couldn't, and they told me, just skip it, go to the next song. And I was like, oh my God, I failed. Like, but the feedback that I got from the proctors after was so valuable. Like what they said is, we know that you were able to play the song, we could tell, but you didn't have any pickup points because you memorized the song as one long song. So when you got stuck here, you had nowhere else to go but other than to start again. And so you need to have intentional pickup points, and for people who play video games, it's like spawn points, like you don't want to have to start at the beginning all over again, right? Like where can you pick up from? So it's the same thing with photo shoots. If you treated your photo shoot as a 1 hour long shoot, when you get stuck, and a lot of people, and I was guilty of this too, you memorize a whole ton of poses, right? You download a whole bunch of things, you have a Pinterest board and you're trying to memorize all of it. And then you're trying to go through it in the same order. When you get stuck, you go back to the beginning again because you're not sure, wait, did I do that pose yet or not? Or the couple changes outfit and you're like, wait, did I do that or not? For me, I have 4 to 6 distinct pickup points. And if they want to change outfits, then I say, great, we'll do the first 3 pickup points in this one outfit and we'll do the next 3 pickup points in the other outfit. So this is a way for me to manage my shots real quickly. So even though I only had half an hour to work with this couple, I was able to quickly get through those 6 pickup points that I knew I needed. The pickup points are not meant to be like memorizing a whole bunch, but of poses per se, but they're prompts. There's 6 prompts that I give them that unfolds a lot of other stuff. So for example, this one set here was from the same prompt. I had them stand, I had them walk, and then I had him whisper something to her that then gave me this great emotion after. Here's like another story that I gave, right? So this one, like they're running to and from the car, pick her up while you're at it, and then go for a kiss inside. Um, and then this one, they wanted something that was kind of like more cool. And so we had them throw on their sunglasses and we had a blast. But I love how these photos came out. And I think it's even more impressive that they happened all in like a half-hour time span. Um, the other thing that once I kind of trained them with these pickup points, they understand the mood that I'm trying to get from them. With every couple, there's essentially two moods I want from them. One is like the really romantic, um, moody kind of shot, and the other one is really playful. And so you can see this was the end of the shoot. We were losing light at this point, and I just had them quickly because I had already warmed them up with my other pickup points. They knew what I needed immediately. So within minutes, I was able to transition them from the left, which was something that was more loving and, in the moment and stoic and moody, to something that was super playful. And all that was me telling her to like snuggle him in close, like take in his breath, and then after that, making her whisper, I don't know, the first time she farted in front of him story. And then suddenly that just like a switch got them to laugh, and I got the shot that I needed. And I love stuff like this because you can see the joy in the love, right? So this one's kind of a combination of both, where I was able to get that really romantic feeling, but also that playful, youthful type of love. And so I call this pose nose to nose. So they know right away when I say nose to nose. Nose to nose is a great opportunity for when I'm still, when I need to figure out what I'm doing. So for me, I knew I wanted to do a double exposure, but I didn't want them awkwardly staring at me while I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. And so I have them nose to nose, and I tell them to connect. I tell them this is one thing I'll tell them is like, here's your premarital therapy. You're going to stare at each other in the eyes for 3 minutes, no talking, and I just want you to communicate through your eyes. And if you haven't tried it, try it with your significant other. It's so awkward. But eventually, once you pass the awkward phase, it's amazing. And that's what I'm looking for. But while they are in their premarital therapy that I put them in, this gives me the opportunity now to find that perfect double exposure, to get them to to find the perfect scene to overlap them with. And yeah, so again, like I would love to go way further into this, but for the sake of time, I've also consolidated these posing. I created a posing guide for you guys, and you guys can download it. You can either text posing to 323-615-3020, and you can also text lighting, but you have to type it exactly as is, no quotation. So you type lighting, and then you'll get the download, and you type posing just as is, and you get the download, or you can go to the URL as well. So yeah, I think we did great with time, and that leaves just enough time for questions from people as well.
I think there's going to be probably more questions from me than anything else, just purely because it's like there's a couple of things that even I'm sitting here wondering. I'm going to ask you, there's somebody who texts me a question. I'll ask that one in a second. Yes, so just so you know, some people are watching on their phone, and the people who know me will text me instead.
Oh, nice.
So it's quite amazing. And sometimes it gets like, depending on our subject, it gets really heated sometimes. It's amusing. But luckily we're not in that situation.
Yeah. They should put it in the comments, because I bet they're not the only people with these questions.
Well, probably not. But the funny thing here is, though, the reason why these guys, some of them are on their phones, so it's really hard for the chat function to work on YouTube while you're watching, because when you put the chat, it covers up the screen. But when they do their texting, you can text it just at the top.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's why he texts me every now and then. And it's not, he actually is interested, but it'll lead on to this.
Yes.
You showed all the pictures with the guy with the roses and everything, and that was actually a story of an individual that was like a journey or leading on to something. So there is an obvious progression there. What do you do generally for these couples that's either married or going to get married or want to do some, the couple shot, that kind of stuff? do you ever get to a situation where you end up making the same shot again for a different group and it becomes very boring very quickly? I have that same problem, especially when I'm doing portrait photography for other people, or even when I'm doing astrophotography. Is, dude, I have shot this thing for the last 7 years and I'm getting bored of it.
So the thing about being a wedding portrait photographer is that we straddle the fine line of being a service and an art. So fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to view it, but these people are hiring you to recreate a lot of the stuff that they like from you. So there are things that they would be upset if you didn't repeat it for them. They saw this amazing shot that I did in Joshua Tree and they want it too. They want a version of them in it. As an artist, yes, that can be boring because I've already created. Let me give you an example. One of the shoots that got me on the map, it was early on in my career. I was still a teacher at the time, doing photography as a side hustle. One of my clients brought a giant pink balloon to the shoot. We did the shoot. Everyone loved it. It went viral. Wedding blogs were featuring it, and all of a sudden, I cannot even count how many engagement shoots I had that year that also all brought a pink balloon. Like, and so it was to the point where I'm like, another one, like, so the thing though is, as a business, that's awesome, right? Because you were able to show them a product that now they want repeated. Isn't that what we're trying to do, right? Because we're trying to sell a service and a product. So we do have to give these to them, but also we are artists. So how do we continue to evolve and do new things as well? So for me, I think that's what pickup points do for me, because those are like the 6 essentials, or 4 to 6 essentials that I know every couple is going to want at the very minimum. But once I get that, then I know that I have free reign to be a little bit more creative and play around and the stuff that they like from me. But you can't be all or the other. Well, I mean, I suppose you can be like the high volume studio type, which is you just repeat everything over and over and over. And there are studios that are very successful running that kind of model. I would be bored to tears if I had to do it that way. So for me, this gives me just the right balance between knowing that I've delivered what they will expect of hiring Caroline Tran to shoot their engagement photos, but also giving me enough flexibility to still do my creative stuff as well.
So I think this is a good piece of advice for those people watching out there. There is a difference between a commercial product from a work standpoint versus me doing this all day long, because that's where the creativity side of things. I think a lot of photographers that I know who struggle with this exact situation, because they do come over to me and say, hey, I'm so bored of, and all I'm doing is product photography. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to attract those types of clients. I said, well, the thing here is though, if your service where you make your money is known for this particular thing, unfortunately, that is the service you've got to provide. That's why people came to you. But for you, if you want to do the fun things and you're over here, then you have to spend your money to go out over there. I mean, I pay my models that I use a lot of the times something. I don't just say, oh, do it for free. I'll give them a couple of $100 if I can, to have them to pay for their time. And then I can do what I want, not have the client pay me and say, you're doing it this way.
Right. Well, I mean, this kind of goes more into like marketing and business,
Right.
But the nice position that I put myself into now is that people hire me for my creativity. So I actually can do some of these new ideas. I will pitch my ideas to clients now. So rather than having to hire a model for it. So let's say that I've had this idea that, an example I can give you is I had this idea for a gender reveal video I wanted to do. And I had the idea of how I would film it, how I would reveal it, and let the bride, let the mom know for the first time, like, you know, if she's having a boy or a girl, right? Yes, I could have hired models to produce it. And if you are first starting out, you might have to do that, or find someone who genuinely will do trade for print, who is interested in trade for print. But because I positioned myself to be trusted, like with my creativity, I was able to reach out to my pregnant couples who I knew that I was going to be shooting maternity for them anyway. And I said, hey, I have this idea. Would you like to add it to your package? And I would produce this gender reveal for you. And so they thought about it, like, yeah, we would love it. I had nothing to show for. I'd never done it before. But I also knew that if I could, I didn't want to do it out of my own pocket, right? If someone else was going to be able to benefit from this and would want this. So yeah, I mean, and I'm so like fortunate, I'm so blessed and like thankful, grateful that I have clients who trust me like this, that I was able to come up with an idea for them that they've never seen before, but they trusted for me to make it happen for them. So I had them tell their OB to mail me when they got the sonogram, the OB put in a seal envelope and mailed it to me. So I knew the gender before anyone else knew, aside, you know, I knew second only to the nurse who did the reading. Like, what an incredible honor that is, right? So then I produced like this whole reveal for them to show, to share with them. And I got to document and share that moment when they first found out, like, what their baby was going to be.
So this is the question. The lighting that you were showing earlier, I'm not sure what they were referring to, but I'm guessing it was your studio where in the corner or something, there was a guy and a girl sitting on a box. That's what I'm assuming he's talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of it looked like natural lighting, but there was also lighting coming in from another direction. Can you give us a little information on how you utilize that lighting to change that mood? Because I think one of the shots, it was the casted shadow, but the other one had no shadows.
Yeah. So one of it, I let direct light in. So it was the sunlight coming in. If I had the production budget, I could definitely buy or rent like one of those huge lights to put outside of the window to be like a big sun. But I don't have that budget, but fortunately the sun was there. So I used the sun as the bright light that was coming in. So the grids that you see were the grids from my window. So that was coming in from that. When I wanted to cut that out, then I was able to scrim it with the white, like cover it up with block it off.
Yeah. So what, just out of interest, what is the creative process from what you do on how you create all of this?
For me, it starts with a story. I can't shoot without a story. So even if when it's commercial, I'm trying to find out who's your audience, what's the message you're trying to convey to them. And even like today, the shoot that I'm shooting later is for someone who's running for local office. And it's the same questions too. It's like, what's your messaging? Who's your base? What are you trying to portray? You know, and so some of those angles I'm going to be using to have her look like she's someone of authority, you know, and so I'm trying to put together this narrative of them. And you've seen projects like this, and now it makes me want to totally do this too, but where a photographer can photograph one person to look as many different personalities as you want, right? And so that's kind of the power we have as photographers. So for me, that's where I start. What story am I trying to tell about these people? And then you establish the light to reflect that, and then you get your clients or your subjects to return that type of emotions to you.
So last question for you here is, give me the difference between the shooting film, as in 35mm or medium format, versus you shooting with the GFX. Because even though the format and the sizing is the same, is there a difference, and do you act differently because you're shooting film, apart from the fact that you've got 24 shots or 21 shots and that is it?
Yeah. So we have 16 shots.
Oh, 16, that's right.
Yeah. I love shooting film because it helps me pace myself. So like I was saying, I have 4 to 6 pickup points. So for me, I shoot 4 to 6 rolls of film per session. Each roll of film is one pickup point. It really helps me pace myself. It makes every shot count. I have very little discards. I have a very high keep ratio of my film work. And that's because it's pretty much planned, you know, like I know I have 16 shots and I need to evolve at a certain pace and I need to get them to move at a certain pace with it. Um, when I shoot digital, there's pros and cons, obviously. Digital, I can preview the screen. And in some cases, I need it. Like when I was shooting him, when I was shooting from the roof of that guy, because my arm was an additional lever, the tilt screen, I was shooting with my XT3, I believe, for that one. But having that tilt screen made a huge difference. If I had shot that on contacts, I would have lost like an extra, I don't know, 2 feet or so.
Or you'd have been falling down.
Yeah, exactly. He would have been catching me instead. So yeah, there's pros and cons to how you work with each of it. Commercial work, I do digital because a lot of times like the art director wants to be able to see it right away. But film definitely helps me slow down. I don't usually shoot more than one of the same shot. And I know some people will like, of the same, like, and then you end up with like 5 of the same pose when you're culling later. But for film.
You know what the funniest thing is? I got rid of a camera to buy a GFX. I'm not going to mention what the other camera company is. To buy a GFX. And the funny thing here is, though, I stopped using my camera for commercial purposes, as in for work reasons, and went more creative. The funny thing here is, though, the fact that we had those film simulations just instantly made me think, oh, look, I've got Provia. And I ended up only shooting 21 shots or 24 shots or something like that. But I ended up getting really super picky before I took that picture. So when I would come back, and the person who I'm doing the modeling stuff, they're used to seeing like literally hundreds. I know people who can take 2,000 shots in one session. Yeah. And when they open up the software, because I was using Capture One, there's like 100 shots if she was lucky. And she was like, is that all you took? I'm like, do you really need 10,000 shots of you doing this in every possible movement?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I love about bringing over from the film side, is just that efficiency mindset.
Yeah.
It's okay with us at Fujifilm if you want to shoot a little bit more film. We we want to keep film alive. We're going to keep it alive, and we know it's a great medium, and we have a lot of dedicated photographers that use our films. We'll be talking about that in about a half hour here.
Yeah.
And
so real quick, because I know we're going to go into the break, and I do got to go to the bathroom, unfortunately. No farting jokes, please. Yeah, no farting jokes, please. So before we do the giveaway, Caroline, I'm going to give you the M1, the phone gimbal, to give away on your Instagram, okay?
Neat. Okay.
Okay, so you're going to do that one. You just tell me when you're ready who won it so I can get it out. Okay, right. So do whatever you want to do that particular giveaway. So just for everybody out there, this particular giveaway is for the Shure M1 phone gimbal. Let me give you a quick image of it. So if you guys are watching online, of course, this is open to people who are not watching after the fact, because obviously not everybody can make it live, but you can go and see what the actual product is. You have to go over to Caroline Tran's Instagram. And if you haven't figured it out already, she's already posted it on there. So there it is there. Caroline Tran, is that correct?
Yep.
On Instagram. And she will be doing the giveaway for what I just showed you guys on the screen, which is the phone gimbal. And for you other guys who are waiting on the other giveaways, that's what me and Barney are going to be doing
very shortly here.
Yeah. All right. So any last words, Caroline?
No, thanks for having me. This was so much fun. And I look forward to seeing you guys over on Instagram when I announce the winner or
Yeah.
host, or when I start the giveaway. So
Excellent. Don't worry, I'm going to have my eyes glued to that. So we'll figure out the finer details later on. But yes, you can pick your random winner on your Instagram. So you're going to be the one that gives it away on your Instagram.
awesome.
So make a
Thanks
big
for
deal,
having
make a
me.
fuss. All right.
Maybe we can even give you, we didn't plan this, but we'll give anybody interested a 5-pack of Pro 400H.
As well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Caroline, you can't win that.
Oh, darn.
But we just want to encourage people that may be thinking about shooting film to shoot a few rolls,
Yeah.
or those that are shooting film and it's not Fujifilm, to try a few rolls. And just want to make sure that, or you can buy a GFX from Simon too. That'll work.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, so for those of you who are watching online, I think we're opening this up until we had a date set and I lost it already. I think it's up until the 10th or the 17th. I have to confirm, but we'll get information out there. Just assume it's going to go on to the 17th. So if you guys aren't watching live, you have until the 17th. Again, you have to go to Caroline Tran's Instagram to win the M1 phone gimbal, and she will probably come up with some fun, creative way to do the giveaway.
Don't forget about the film.
And then
Yeah, and don't forget about the film. That is right.
Yes, and the film. But separate, so there'll be many winners then.
Oh, if you want to give away 5 rolls, 5 individual rolls, that's up to you. So there's one phone gimbal and 1 5-pack of film.
Okay. So there'll be 2 winners.
Yeah, it's up to you how you want to do it. But
Well,
you can't
everybody's a
win.
winner
You're not
today
allowed to
because
win.
Everybody's a winner because we got to listen to Caroline. And,
Yeah, there we go.
shared
Exactly.
A bunch of great information with us. I learned a lot. I learn a lot every time I see or hear her. She's a great photographer and great to hang out with in person too. Just a really kind and genuine human being.
Thank you. I
Just
can't wait till we
thrilled
can
to have her
actually
here.
hang out in person again.
Yeah, can't wait to do that. This is a great tool. Like I mentioned earlier, it brings people together from great distances, but nothing like a face-to-face conversation, where we can spend some quality time together.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So one last time, Caroline, where can they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram at Caroline Tran. I have that right there. So yeah. And then if you want to see more of my photography work, carolinetran.net. And if you want more of like my guides and stuff like that, carolinetraneducation.com.
And then can also book you as a photographer as well.
Yes. Yes.
Obviously.
If you need branding, if you need new headshots or anything like that, happy to be your gal.
Exactly. So don't forget, give Caroline a call, bring a pink balloon, and have plenty of fart jokes ready.
Oh, yeah.
Right, guys, we're going to go for a quick break. We will be back at 12:30 Pacific time. Again, the next giveaway will be in just a moment, but the phone gimbal and a film pack is going to be through Caroline's Instagram. So we will see you back in just a moment. Don't go away.
All right. Have a good
All right, sorry about that. I didn't realize that the audio decided to stop as usual. Don't know why it does that. It's supposed to transition back, but I guess I've got to press two buttons, and I've got two hands, so I should be able to press two buttons with two hands. Anyway, we're going to be back in just a few seconds. We're just doing some finishing touches to our presentation, because obviously we just changed a handful of things here and there, especially with the giveaway. So don't run away. We are going to be giving away the Instax Square 10 first. So you have to be watching to do this. So don't run away. We're just doing a couple of changes here and there to our presentation. So yeah, the first prize is going to be the Instax Square 10. So anybody who's watching right now, I can almost guarantee it that you guys are going to win something. So I'll be right back. Don't run away. Okay, we're back. There's little me on the side and little Barney down below me, hopefully. So we're going to start with the Instax Square 10 or SQ10 as our first giveaway, and it will come with a pack of film, so you're not just holding a camera. There will be the film that comes with it, obviously. So this is our first giveaway on this hour, and it'll just basically run through as we do our talk. So you'll be able to win a Lee play. I'm going to make sure I say it correctly, otherwise, because I keep saying live play for some weird reason.
Next
And
mini Lee play.
yep, exactly. And then we have a couple of packs of film that we're going to also be giving away as well. So obviously stay tuned for that. Yes, you can win more than once before you ask. Hopefully the same person doesn't win everything, because that would be really unfair for everybody. But I might just rig it to be fair anyway, to be honest. So first things first, let's do the giveaway for the SQ10. And to prove that you guys were watching the video, I want you to tell me who the person that was doing the video, and I want you to type it up on the live chat. You can enter as many times as you want. We are going to basically pick a winner at random. So all you got to do is just type in the person's name that was just on, and I'm not going to say the person's name. So type in your answer, and we will pick that winner at random in just one moment. So while they go off doing that, because obviously there will be a delay in the chat versus the video and the live stream, Barney, reintroduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Barney Tong. I'm a Fujifilm sales rep. I've been working with Simon and Woodland Hills Camera and Telescope for many years now. We learn a lot from each other, you know.
Yes.
Simon is a great resource for astrophotography information. I hope I'm a good resource for film, camera, and anything related to Fuji. I don't know everything, but we learn together, and that's one thing I think we're getting out of this whole COVID situation is, you know, we're better together. We need to help each other out. We're here to talk about film today, and we're gonna make it an interactive thing, and you're gonna be able to win some cool prizes. So, you know, with that said, really look forward to sharing some information with you. Ask questions away. You know, Simon will moderate those questions for us, and we will do the best that we can to answer all of your questions. So don't be shy. Are you ready with some winners, or Simon, or should I?
We're going to let it run for a little bit longer.
Okay. So I guess, is my screen share up?
It is. Let me just move the prize out of the way. So again, the question is, who was the person that was actually doing the first presentation? And the prize is up on your screens right now. I keep pointing. It's over there. Oops. I keep pointing in the wrong direction. I'm pointing off the screen here. It's actually over there. So that is the prize. I'm going to wiggle it around real fast. And it's basically, it's an Instax Square 10 or SQ10. In fact, Barney, real quick, give us a quick overview of this camera, because there is something different about this compared to the other Instax cameras.
Now, I'm a little confused, Simon, just to be honest.
So you know, you have Instax Mini, you have Instax Wide, and we've got the SQ10.
So there's an SQ, I'm sorry, let's regather myself here. The SQ10 is a hybrid camera. It shoots both film and digital. And it shoots Instax film. It doesn't shoot 35mm film or medium format film, which we'll be talking about here in a little bit. The SQ10 is very unique because you can choose what you want to print. If you get a keeper, print away. You can print multiples from the same image. If you put a micro SD card in the slot that's available in the camera, the camera does not come with an SD card though. You can save all your images. Now they are not going to be files capable of making an 8x10 print should you want to print you know, through the lab at Woodland Hills Camera. But you can make an Instax square size print, which is about so big, if that makes any sense. A 4x6 or a 4x4 would probably work just fine. So in any case, that's a little bit about the camera. It takes the Instax square film. There are 10 sheets of film per pack. And there are single packs and also twin packs out there. So 10 or 20 sheets at a time, and it's a lot of fun. There's a rechargeable battery in there. And, you know, the good thing about this camera is that it enables you to choose which one that you actually want to keep in print. So
Yeah.
with that said, I think that's...
Yeah, that covers it. Okay, let's move this thing out of the way. And funny thing here, somebody just asked a really good question. Does medium format cameras use 35mm film? Well, yes. No, it doesn't. It uses 120, but there are people that sell sheets of paper in a roll that have the sprockets that allow you to put the 35mm film onto it and actually expose on the entire film. It's very, very, very rare to find something like that, but there are people who do stuff like that. It's not common. I'm just going to let you know that. It's usually a hack
I've
type
never
thing.
seen one.
Oh, you've never seen that?
No.
Oh, I've seen it. I never thought I saw it, and I used to ask people this all the time when somebody showed me they had a roll of film that was completely exposed from edge to edge, right down to the sprockets, the whole 9 yards, and it was like a really big part of the image. And I was like, "How did you do that?" And they said, "Well, we downloaded, we went to a website and we got this thing that is like a sheet of paper that has these sprocket holes that would match a medium format film. And what you would have to do is you have to put your film onto it, and you can only run, I think, like 1 or 2 shots through it because it's so thick."
Wow.
And it does the exposure as it pulls it through, and it actually exposes the entire 35mm negative. But I haven't found it and haven't seen it ever since. But the guy that's shot this and showed it to me once, I really wanted to actually try it because it was really interesting. It's a different effect and a different way of doing things. And obviously, you don't know where you lined the film up, so anything can happen.
Yeah, kind of random, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's basically a creative way of using film in a different format that I've not seen before, and I thought that was really neat.
Yeah,
anyway,
sounds like a good way to shoot a roll of film to me.
It is. Well, it's going to be really hard because you've got to know this stuff very, very well, because you are in a what we call a darkroom bag or a change bag, and you have to actually get everything on there by touch alone, because obviously you can't do this outside. Otherwise, you would just end up exposing the film, and then you end up with a blank roll of film.
Yeah, we should give one of those away if you can find one.
Yeah,
give one to me.
Yeah, I should get one for you. I got to find it because the paper that they're using is nothing special. It's a little bit more durable to run through the sprockets without it tearing, because obviously it's made out of paper. So as it goes through the sprockets, it pulls against it, and it's the number one break point is the sprockets. So whatever they did with this sheet of paper that they're using is incredibly durable, and it's thin to allow you to mount the film onto it and let it pull through. But you can only do 2 or 3 shots max, otherwise it jams up in the sprocket because it's so thick. There's only so many you can roll through it at any one given time. But it's actually quite neat. And the cat's back.
Something to play around with.
Yeah.
Good reason to
different things.
Shoot a roll of film.
All right. Speaking of shooting rolls of film, let's get started. So, tell me more about what we're looking at here, because obviously this is one of the websites that Fujifilm actually has.
Yeah, and I'm just basically going to use our ishootfujifilm.com site to share some information about film. We have 2 different types of film. Hold that thought for a second. I will save that for later. Sorry.
Sorry, my cat can't distract people.
Color reversal. It's also called transparency film or slide film. If you remember, well, we still make slide films, and we'll go over that in a minute. Little plastic or cardboard mount with a piece of 35mm film in it. Typically, you could put it in a projector, project it up on the screen. We're not talking a digital projector. We're talking about a light bulb, the film, and then your screen. So I used to put on a lot of slideshows, shot a lot of another manufacturer's film, but then I did switch to Fuji before I actually came to work for Fuji. But in any case, got a little sidetracked there. There's color negative, there's color reversal, and there's also black and white film. And we're very excited that we just recently brought back a black and white film that we discontinued back in 2018. But due to popular demand, we brought back our Fujifilm Acros 2. But we'll talk about more of that in a few minutes here. Let's start off with the color negative films here. I have a quick technical question here. Are you guys seeing a black or area?
No, we're good.
Over here?
It looks good on my screen.
Okay, so you can see the Fujifilm logo in the upper left?
Yep,
cool.
Everything is there.
I see you there, Simon, and me, so just checking. So let's start with color negatives. We make two speeds. There's a 200 and 400. We actually make 3 different films, but two speeds, 2 sensitivities. ISO 200, Fujicolor 200 is a general purpose consumer film, fine grain, great saturation, really sharp, and the colors are natural. And the one thing that I want to say about all of our color negative films is that we have a 4th dye layer. Traditional color films, color negative films have 3 dye layers. Fujifilm manufactures all of our color negative films with a 4th dye layer. And what that 4th dye layer does is reduces the amount of color shift, especially when you're shooting fluorescent. If you're shooting under fluorescent lights with a traditional color negative film, you will see a horrible, ugly green cast. Some people may like that, but typically, if you want accurate color under fluorescent lights with a traditional film, you have to put a magenta filter on it and deal with all this other stuff. With our films, though, you can shoot under fluorescence or some other light sources without putting a filter on it. And that is huge if you do have to work in that environment. And, in the home environment, a lot of kitchens, a lot of rooms have fluorescent lighting. So it's a really big thing, especially if you don't want to put a flash on the camera. And if you are shooting indoors, you might be shooting the ISO 400 film. I'm going to skip over the 400H here and go to the Superior 400. That is going to be slightly more grainy, but it's you're going to be able to make a big print with it without really, really bad grain. And I say bad grain kind of tongue in cheek because grain is actually a good thing sometimes. You can shoot for enhanced grain. If you underexpose a film just a little bit, the grain will show up more. Not that we advocate underexposing film too much, because with great underexposure, you will really not have any detail to show at all. But with a slightly higher grain, you get more sensitivity, and it just gives you a little bit more freedom to shoot in lower light situations. So those are 2 consumer films. They're available in 3 packs, as you see here. The 400 and the 200 are also available in 3 packs, and the single roll 35 millimeter 36 exposure box. They're both available in single rolls and 3 packs. And of course, the 3 packs are much more economical as far as the price per roll is concerned. Now let's jump up to our Pro 400H. Great portrait, people, great all-around film. Our professional films, we used to have a few more films in our professional color negative lineup, a 160 speed and an 800 speed, but really bottom line is the 400 was the most used product. And as things compressed as far as film sales, we had to make some very difficult decisions on discontinuing some very well loved films. But The Pro 400H was always the most popular, so we kept it. It's still alive and well. People like the person who presented just a little bit ago, the person in question, so that you can win the SQ10 camera, uses the Pro 400H, and also a GFX digital camera. But she does shoot both formats, and the 400H is really a great portrait film, but it's also good for landscapes. I find when I'm shooting film, and I admit that I don't shoot as much film as I used to, I primarily shoot things that don't talk back at me, landscapes and stuff like that. That a lower contrast film is better to scan, and then in Photoshop or whatever image editing program that you might be using, you can control the contrast. So you want to bump up the contrast a little bit more. You can decide where you want to lose the detail. Do you want to lose it in the shadows? You want to lose it in the highlights to get a more punchy shot, or you can keep it nice and smooth and that long scale of detail from shadow to highlight. Sometimes you want it more punchy, but with digital, it's really easy to do these days, because I'm sure most of you are scanning, having your film scanned, and then either printed, or you work with the scan, then have it printed. And we'll talk a little bit about printing, but that's not the purpose of today's presentation. We feel printing is very important, but we're here to talk about film, because I shoot Fujifilm.
Real quick question. And I know that people are going to, well, they ask me this constantly at the store. What is the primary difference between the professional and the consumer film? I know the answer, but for the people out there that are watching this.
Sure, great question. The professional films do have less saturation and lower contrast. Like I was talking about, you're able to, bump up the contrast in Photoshop later, should you decide, or you can keep it nice and smooth. In previous generations, when film was the final output, and that really applies more to the transparency or reversal films, it was critical that your color that you shot was perfect, because you're going to be submitting that piece of film to the ad agency or to the magazine as a professional, or you're going to be projecting that film onto a wall. So you want that film to be the right color and the right contrast. That's why we made so many. We still make a variety of transparency films. And that's because what you shoot is what you get. You can obviously scan things these days and project them digitally, but back in the day of film, before digital became what it is today, if you were underexposed, you had a dark image. If you're overexposed, you had a light image. And that applies to the transparency films. We'll talk more about that in a second. But one of the other things about the professional films, to encourage, or not encourage, but to provide consistency from one roll to another, one batch to another. You buy a roll of film from Simon, you buy a roll of film from a company back east, because you're traveling. The batches are extremely consistent. We strongly suggest refrigerating professional films to keep that consistency, emulsion to emulsion and batch to batch. Is it critical that you do that today? Not so much, but basically the key difference between a color negative consumer film like the Fujicolor 200 and 400 versus the Pro 400H is the contrast and saturation. You can always add the contrast and saturation later, but it's hard to add that in if it's not there in the first place. The 2 and 400 consumer films are great capturing shadow to highlight detail, the Pro 400H is just better at it.
I think.
Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, totally. I think just for you guys out there, if you're a beginner photographer, I highly suggest that you look at the Superior 400 more for indoor than anything else, and the C200 for outdoor shoots. If you're brand new to this, these are great inexpensive films to get started with. So there's no fear of like having that thing of wasting that film. I mean, there's a line in my head from my mum from years ago when we used to play around with my dad's Olympus film camera. Was he would have loaded in their Pro 400 or something along that caliber, which is expensive back then, and she would just scream at us, "Stop wasting the damn film" all the time, because we're just like click happy. But with something like Superior 400 or C200, no, you can be click happy. It is relatively inexpensive. You just got to take into consideration, though, it's if you're posing with people, don't take 10 shots, because when you go get them developed, you've only end up with one shot out of that roll, which can be a little bit daunting in certain ways. So think of what it is that you're shooting before you go too crazy, because it still costs money at the end of the day.
And that's one beauty of film photography. Whether you realize it or not, I know it happens with me, even though I don't have to buy the film.
Yep.
I'm very grateful for that, but you're more mindful about what you're shooting. You take a look at your scene. Let's look at it from over here. Let's look at it from over here. Low angle, high angle. Before you actually click that shutter, I just find myself taking a lot more time with the shot to make sure I'm getting what I see, what I want to see out of that scene. So with the associated costs with each click of the shutter, I think it's a really good thing for your photography. Even if you only shoot a roll of film, every so often, it just makes you stop and think. One of our digital cameras has a feature that also kind of uses that mindset. We could talk about that briefly a little bit later on too. So,
all right, anyways, let's move forward.
Are we going to give that thing away yet? Or
oh yeah, sorry, I'm like too busy listening to what you're saying.
I'm just I want to take care of our
yes.
our
okay.
And
so let's start with our first winner, or what's going to be our first winner. Do you happen to have the chat open, Barney?
I do not.
Oh, okay. I'm going to pick this winner then.
Okay.
So big drum roll going on, and I am going to pick Jeff Weiss, because he was actually first with the correct answer. So I'm going to pick him by default. So Jeff, I need you to type up your email address so I can actually get all your information, so I can get this guy shipped out to you. So Jeff Weiss, you are the winner. Let me just type that in the chat. Jeff Weiss,
congratulations, Jeff.
You are the winner. Q10 making its way to you.
I will start to transition over to our.
Excellent. I'm sorry for the other people that didn't win. This is not rigged. I promise you, you have to be watching. There are other things we're going to give away. The next prize will be the Lee Play, so the Fujifilm Lee Play. That's actually an interesting one. I'm tempted to get one myself because I have a really cool idea for it. But you guys get to play with it first. You get to win it first. So the next person will do that one in just a moment. So this is the part that I'm more interested in, is the color reversal, because actually I loved shooting on this stuff. So take it away, Barney.
All righty. So color reversal film, reversal versus negative. It's a positive image. So as you saw in the image before, if you haven't seen the raw film before, color negative film is this orange base. Everything is reversed. The color image is, so a blue sky would be kind of yellow on the film. but with the orange base, it's really hard to see what that image is going to look like. With the color reversal film, what you see is what you get. So if you're shooting blue sky, when you get your film back, you're going to have a blue sky, green grass, red hat, pink balloon, whatever. We have 3 different color reversal films, and we make them in 3 different sizes. Not every size is available in every film type here in the US. But we'll start with the film that we tried to discontinue about 10 years ago. Velvia 50 is a very high saturation, high contrast, daylight film. You may have heard some tungsten films, but that's a light bulb. Essentially, we won't go there because we don't make any tungsten films anymore. But Velvia 50 was the film that our professional landscape photographers loved. It has high contrast. It has a very unique color palette. It's not the most accurate film in the world. But when you see it, and you see the difference between the Velvia 50 and the Velvia 100, which is actually, the Velvia 100 is a much more accurate film. It's actually finer grain than the 50. Because typically a lower ISO is going to give you finer grain. But the Velvia 50 is an older emulsion, so it doesn't have all the technology built in the Velvia 100. A couple of cool things that I love to do with the Velvia 50 is to shoot long exposures. When you shoot long exposures, especially like twilight and sunsets, waiting for blue hour and later, well into twilight, where you're shooting a 20, maybe 30 plus second exposure, the colors. There are colors that the film adds. So again, it's not the most accurate, but it's really, really cool. Magenta is kind of the color that comes into play in various fashions, depending on the sky and everything. But it's just a beautiful thing that you really need to play around with. You might want to bracket a little bit. I'm not just trying to sell you more film here, but I would suggest, since your color transparency or reversal films, your slide films are all what you see is what you get. So if you overexpose that film so much that all you get is clear film, that's all you get. So you're not going to be able to see an image, or you'll see a very faint image. And that varies on based on the amount you overexpose. But if you underexpose, it's going to be very dark. And some people underexpose slightly. The Velvia 50 is so saturated that it appears dark, even though it is an ISO 50 speed film. So a lot of people will actually shoot it at 40 or even 32 to get to the point where they like to see their very saturated and contrast the images. But that's up to you. But I was talking about bracketing. So a lot of times if I'm shooting, if I took the time to compose and get the scene just right, the way I want to see it, and I've taken all that time, I'm on a tripod, whatever, I've got a handheld, I'm going to take 3 pictures. And depending on the lighting and everything, I'll probably do either a half a stop or a full stop, over and underexposed. It really depends on the situation, and I could even shoot 5 pictures. Just really depends on the situation, because if you nail the exposure, you got a beautiful image. If it's off a little, it's off a little, and yeah, you can correct it in the scan, but it's real for transparency, color reversal films. It's really critical that you nail the exposure, and you'll get good at it. You'll know how to read your meter, but the bracketing just allows for a little bit of insurance, so that you know that you're going to get the shot that you wanted. If you don't trust your brain and the whole exposure triangle that you need to think of when you're photographing a difficult scene with maybe some contrasty lighting or what have you. So
real quick, for those guys who are watching, I know that some of you are not familiar with certain phrases. I do highly recommend that you brush up on certain phrases that we're going to be using, like f-stops, stops, half stop, bracketing, things like that. On this website, what was this website again? How do we get to it?
I shoot Fujifilm.com. That's
So,
I as in not your eye.
Yeah, but, the letter I.
Yes.
So if you go over to this website, go into the Film 101, which he was just showing, and there is
we'll jump in there in a minute.
Yeah, and there is the film terminology. So if you do get lost with what we're saying, bear with us. Spend the time to listen through this. Remember those key words, and then go check out the terminology. We'll run through that in just a moment, but I do know that some of you do not understand what bracketing means. So, please don't feel like you're getting lost. We will cycle back to this so you can understand the terminology. Sorry, I had to clear that, Barney.
No problem. Jump in anytime. And if you feel there are questions relevant, just bring them up.
Yeah, I'll poke you. Don't worry.
Yep. Just not too hard.
Yeah, okay.
So back to kind of the beginning here. We did try to we actually did discontinue the Velvia 50 for about, it was almost 2 years, I believe, back about 10 years ago. We got such feedback, and I'm being nice. A lot of letters and a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls about, what are you doing? You're killing me. This is my bread and butter film. I've been shooting landscapes for 20 years. This is my look. We brought it back. And that's one thing really good about this company that I've been working for 22 years now, is that we listen. It may take a while. We got a big ship here, but the feedback that we get from you, if you call our consumer products hotline, which I'll share right now, which is 1-800-800-Fuji. Even I can remember that. And Fuji is 3854, by the way, for those who don't want to look at their keypad on their phone or whatever. So 1-800-800-Fuji. There's a couple prompts there, but it will get you to somebody that can answer questions about just about anything and everything relating to our products. Boy, where was I? Kind of lost my train of thought there. So
we were going to go on to Provia next now.
Actually, let me jump. I was talking about feedback. So,
oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, feedback. Yep.
So feedback is very important, whether it's a digital camera question or if it's a film question or a request. Same thing happened with our black and white film, which we'll talk about in a minute. But due to all that overwhelming feedback that we received, we brought back Velvia 50. One of the reasons that we discontinued it was there was one of the elements used in manufacturing the film was quite toxic. And as we were becoming ISO 14001 certified, which required a lot of we're going green. You see the boxes of our film are green. Fujifilm is a very green company. We actually go through testing on an annual basis, not just corporate and our manufacturing, but us as employees. It makes me feel good about the company. In our manufacturing plant in South Carolina, the water we get out of the water we return to Lake Greenwood, which is one of the reasons that we built the plant there in Greenwood, South Carolina, because of the water quality. The water that we return to the lake is cleaner than when it left. So that's something that we're very proud of. And it just makes me feel good to work for a company that is concerned about the future, about our environment, and taking care of people. taking care of our photographers. We listened, we brought back the Velvia 50, but by that time we had already introduced the Velvia 100. Now the Velvia 100 is a finer grain film. You get an extra bit of sensitivity there because it's a 100 speed film. And it's just the more accurate film. It has the higher contrast and higher saturation characteristics of the Velvia 50. But, you know, I mentioned the magic of the inaccuracies of the color of the Velvia 50. Now, I'm not talking about the blue sky is going to go green or the green grass is going to be purple, but just it's a different color palette. And that's why the landscape photographers really love the Velvia 50. Now, a lot of them do shoot the Velvia 100. They shoot both. And actually, that's why we continue to make 3 different color reversal films, is because they're all a little bit different. And depending on the situation, you might want to use one over the other. But the Velvia 100 is finer grain, high contrast, high saturation. If you shoot a long exposure with the Velvia 100, like I mentioned with the Velvia 50, you're going to get much more accurate colors. The color accuracy is going to hold into the longer exposures, whereas the Velvia 50 gets that nice, beautiful magenta cast in certain areas. It's just gorgeous. You've got to see it. I'm going to move on to the Provia 100, which is our most popular color reversal film. It's the most accurate. It's medium contrast, medium saturation. You know, the other 2 films can be used for portraits, but skin tones get a little bit oversaturated. The Provia 100 is totally usable for portraits, fashion, just a great all-purpose film. It is an E6 process, and I'll touch base on E6 and the different processes in a minute before we go into black and white. Since the Provia 100F is our most popular film, we do make it in a couple other sizes. We make the 35 millimeter right here. We make the 120. We make a sheet film 4x5. I know, Simon, you said don't bring up sheet film, but I'm doing it anyways. Then we make an 8x10 sheet, and these go in view cameras. We're not going to get into the details about view cameras, but if you've ever seen a picture of Ansel Adams shooting a picture with a dark slide or a dark cloth over his head, this big, huge camera in front of him, that's the type of camera this sheet film goes into.
Unfortunately, we don't sell sheet film, so that's why I said don't bring it up. But it's okay. I know you guys. There are the funny thing is,
Simon, we do.
Exactly. I know you guys sell sheet films. Exactly. But I mean, of course, you guys can still find sheet film through some of the other companies out there that do supply this kind of stuff. It's not for the faint of heart, obviously. So don't think you could just buy a sheet film and shove it somewhere and expect an amazing result. It does require, it is an art form. I've only used sheet film a handful of times, and I'm not going to lie, I am not the best at it.
Yeah, there are a lot of other factors that come into play with a view camera. And like I said, we won't go there right now, but talk about mindful photography and shooting film and slowing down. There's a really good way to do it with the view camera. But,
each shot takes about 30 minutes to almost an hour to figure out, plan, because it's a one-shot deal. It truly is.
Yeah, you really don't want to bracket so much with sheet film because you know, the 8x10 sheet film I think is around $5 a shot. I may be way off on that, so don't quote me on that, please. But you know, just think about every time you click that shutter, there's a price to pay. So is it worth it if you know what you're doing? Absolutely. There's nothing like looking at an 8x10 transparency on a light table that's exposed just perfectly. There's nothing like it. You know, looking at your monitor is one thing, but you know, these images just jump out at you. It's like 10 times better than the monitor. And anyways, enough about sheet film. Sorry, Simon.
It's
I
okay.
broke the rules.
I mean, who knows? I mean, if it does become popular enough, we might carry it. It's just because I don't like to have sheet film sitting around for too long. It doesn't do it any good. That's
Well,
essentially
one
what
thing
it
is that you could, you know, you could special order. You know, we can, you know, it's
Oh yeah, of
typically
course.
in our
Yeah, yeah.
warehouses. If anybody out there needs some sheet film, you know, Simon's purchasing
Yes,
person
that we
can
can
order it
do.
from us.
Yeah, that we can do. We can definitely do special orders, but just don't rush in and go, I want a sheet film. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
I
plan
blame
ahead.
you, Barney. I'm going to blame you.
You can do that. I'll help you out as much as I can.
Excellent.
So, anyways, I think we're going to transition out of color. But before I do that, just want to touch briefly. I'm not going to go into any detail here, but just so you're familiar with the processes required to process color negative and color reversal films. I just want you to be aware of color negative films are processed in a C41 process. I'm not going to go there yet. And color reversal films are processed in what's called E6 chemicals, and they're greatly different. You don't want to process color negative film in E6 process or vice versa. And I'll take that back in a moment here. But if you want the true characteristics of the film. But just be aware that if you have color negative film, make sure you check the box on the envelope where you tell them you want C41. You know, the lab will know. All the labs are really good these days.
Yeah, we all know just by default. As soon as
but
we see the roll of film, we know.
Just a bit of knowledge for you. C41 is for color negatives, and E6 is for the color reversal films that we just talked about. I'll talk really quickly. I have zero experience with this. Fujifilm, we as a manufacturer do not recommend this. Some labs will do it, some won't. Do you guys do cross-processing, Simon?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Let me.
Take
I'm going to make
Simon's tone.
Okay, I'm going to make this statement very carefully. Usually when somebody comes in and asks for cross-processing, I will ask them, what is it that you're trying to do and what is it that you're trying to achieve, and are you aware of the results? I'm not going to say this, otherwise it'd be buzzwords for everybody. If they have the correct wording when they give me a response, then I know they actually want cross-processing. We have had situations in the past where they have done a chemical alteration to the film without telling us. The most common one is the soaking it in lemon juice scenario. We need to know ahead of time. This stuff will pollute the chemistry, meaning that we have to throw it away, which ends up costing money. So there are times when anybody walks in the door and says cross-processing, you will get grilled because we will know very quickly if you've done something to the film.
Yeah, and again, Fujifilm, we do not recommend it. We know it's being done out there. So just communicate with your lab very explicitly what your intention is, and we'll let them handle it from there. So
yeah, it just
I
changes.
didn't open a can of worms there, but
no, it doesn't. Well, no, it doesn't open a can of worms. It just changes the way we process. So let's just say you did do something with the film experimentally. We now know not to put it through the machine because a lot of people don't realize this. But I do actually have a short video of it up on YouTube somewhere in our YouTube. I mean, you're on YouTube, so you can go find it at some point, where I'm at the lab and you see the machine with all the film running through it. And think of it this way. If you give me a roll of film that you've done something to it, or you've altered it, or you've chemically changed it, and it runs through our regular C41, And then what happens here is we ruin the chemistry and we don't know. So the next person who puts their roll of film in, their film's going to get ruined by the previous person. So you have to be mindful. Now, that being said, we still check everything. The minute we get the roll of film, we don't just haphazardly throw it in the machine and close our eyes. The staff there are actually trained photographers and they're trained developers. The first thing they're going to do is they will identify if the film has been messed around with, changed, or if a roll of E6 are suddenly shown up in the bucket and they say, okay, is this cross-processing? Because everything is done slightly differently. So usually we will get a phone call from the lab saying, hey, are you sure that this guy wants to do this? Or we contact the customer. Usually we vet them first before we even begin to do the cross-processing part of everything. But again, I don't suggest it. I don't recommend it. So take it on yourselves. If you do want to go through it, you will be grilled because we will grill you.
So just realized hey, we should probably give something away, Simon.
We should. What should we give away next? I think we should give away the Lee Play now.
Alrighty.
Okay, so the question will be this. We just showed you a bunch of films in the color negative, so do not click back on the color negative for a second. We showed 3 different films. Only one of them is considered a professional film. Which film was it? Okay.
Good question.
So in the color negative, there were 3 films that we showed. Only one of them was used as a professional film. Which one was it? Type your answers into the chat window and we will pick a winner at random. Jeff, you can apply again, or you can try and win it again, but I got a funny feeling we're going to rig this anyway, so you don't. But just in case it lands on you, hey, it is what it is. You never know, lightning can strike twice in the same place. So again, the question is, which film in color negative is the professional version of the film? And again, what was this website again, Barney?
I shoot Fujifilm.com.
Okay, so that will be your hint on how to find the answer, just in case you missed it, because it's not an easy one.
Alrighty, well, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and just briefly go into a couple items off of this Film 101 section here.
Excellent. Okay.
Film terminology. Say that fast 5 times. We're gonna, we touched briefly on C41 there. There's a lot of great information here. It doesn't go into great detail, but it's just the stuff that's good to know. Which were the ones that we
what did we do in the 2 different types of film, 120 versus 35 millimeter? Let's start with that one.
Oh, well, there's 35. 35 millimeter comes in rolls. We make all of our 35 millimeter film is 36 exposures. There were some 24 exposure rolls that we discontinued just to streamline it, because the people that are shooting film, let's just we're just trying to streamline our manufacturing so that we can continue to keep film in production. Other manufacturers out there, I believe, are still making 24 exposure rolls. So 35 millimeter film, when you get it back from the lab, you'll see sprocket holes on the top and bottom. When you load it in your camera, you'll have, kind of want to line up the sprocket holes in the loading system if your camera is not an auto load camera with the sprocket holes on the film. So the size of the image on the film is 24 by 36 millimeters. I don't know. I think that's, anything else you can add to that, Simon?
Well, 35 millimeter is actually the de facto standard film size that you are all used to, especially if you're from the digital realm. looking in, everything is always compared to the 35mm look per se, because it's a frame format. The standard medium format tends to be more like a 4:3 than anything else. I think we already did the C41, we already did the E6. I know it's not mentioned in here, but the word bracketing always confuses people. When I say the word bracketing, I always get this confused look on a customer's face. Do you want to give a quick explanation of what bracketing is? Because the actual explanation is a lot simpler than you realize.
Well, yeah, I think I touched on it earlier, but you know, you have your normal exposure, and then when you bracket, you're going to intentionally under and or overexpose, you know, to the, you know, they say left or right, just that's the way my brain works, but you know, under and overexpose the film intentionally, just to make sure you get the correct exposure. I think I mentioned on every shot, it may not be necessary, but more so with a transparency film or color reversal films, since what you see is what you get. With color negative films, a lot can be done during the scan, but with a color reversal film, that's primarily where you're going to see the bracketing. So intentionally over or underexposing, or oh boy, intentionally
tongue-tied today, aren't we?
and or underexposing an exposure on that film. So yes, my tongue is tied up.
I'm just going to quickly show an image of the camera that you can win. It's the Instax Mini Lee Play. Again, that question is out of the color negative films that you just saw. There are actually 3. One of them is considered for use for professional. Which one is it? So you just simply type in the name of the film. So it's Fujifilm something. Okay. And make sure you put that into the chat, and then we will pick a winner at random in just a moment.
You know, I think we'll just leave, since we're running a little bit long right now.
That's okay.
We'll leave it for everybody to browse through this as they desire.
Oh, sorry. Somebody just asked that question, and I know this always happens when we talk about bracketing. Bracketing can be done with either the shutter, aperture, or the ISO. Especially in digital photography. Obviously, you can't bracket ISO in film unless you want to unload the roll of film and then load up a new roll inside. It doesn't really work like that. It is literally just bracketing will be either your shutter speed or your aperture. You're basically losing a stop or gaining a stop or half a stop, and it doesn't matter how you achieve that stop difference, for lack of a better description. And then, Barney, question more for you: how long can a roll of film last for in a refrigerator?
Good question. You know, we have expiration dates, very conservative expiration dates on all of our films. Get back to full screen here. Not like that. Like that. So refrigerating it will help. Freezing will help, but there's always exposure to gamma rays, especially at higher altitudes. Like, there are measures in place for airline pilots and flight attendants to, you know, monitor the hours that they're at altitude, because gamma rays will affect film. It will fog the film, and so don't keep a roll of film for 20 years. But a lot of people these days, if they're looking for an artistic effect and don't care about accuracy, will shoot expired film. They actually will come in asking for expired film, right, Simon?
Yeah, and by all means, feel free to come in and ask for expired film. We do actually keep the stuff to the side, and we know. I mean, the price of the roll is the same as what it would be for anybody, but you can pick, so to speak, what the length of expiration is, because some of our rolls have only expired by 6 months. To be honest, 6 months doesn't really make that much of a difference, but I've had rolls come in where even customers just donate them, to be honest. That's how we get the older ones. The other day, somebody bought in a roll of Provia, must have been 6 years that it's been expired for.
And some people are looking for that type of thing.
Yeah, and they're looking for it. And it's a very unique effect. Here's the part that really upsets me is I've shot a roll of expired film, and I know exactly what it should look like. Got it developed, and it looked no different. And I was like, son of a gun, did I get that unlucky to have the roll that actually kept the freshness? And I was kind of disappointed. I mean, the guy said it's a little bit, loss of contrast, because he did notice that it was expired, but I was expecting something else, because in my head, I purposely went out and shot like old objects, hoping to get a slightly more washed out look. But all I did was lose contrast, and I was like, son of a gun.
Oh, well. And like I said,
it's a total crapshoot.
Our expiration dates are conservative, and I think everybody's are, other manufacturers too. But I can't, as a Fujifilm employee, say that you can use expired film. So
no, but it is
leave
good
it
fun.
at that.
I'm going to say it's good fun. I'm still going to tell you to do it.
You can say that, Simon. I will.
Yeah,
not.
I can.
I want to keep my job because I do.
Okay, so Barney, I think we have a winner.
Awesome.
So the winner is going to be Jesse Doosan. So Jesse, oops.
Congratulations, Jesse.
Doosan, you are a winner. So she was actually the first person to get it right, because a couple of people posted their answers and didn't quite get it right. They were close, but I'm not going to, poke that one too harsh. But that is our winner. Send me your email address. If you don't want to post it up on the live chat, just say something, and you can email me directly. So this is my. Can you give me your email address live on the chat? Just so you know, the chat will not be available afterwards, so people don't, try and cheat or use your email address to subscribe you to pointless information. All right, carry on while I get the information from her.
Basically, I'm gonna just skip over this film 101. I just want to touch really quickly on the spotlight here. We've got some great photographers that we're spotlighting on our I Shoot Fujifilm website here. As you probably know, Caroline was featured earlier today in a presentation. I hope some of you had a chance to see her, because she is a lot of fun to work with. She's an excellent photographer. She really knows how to connect with people, connect with her clients, whether they're commercial clients or portrait, wedding. She's just and she shoots Fujifilm, our Pro 400H, and she shoots our GFX camera. I think I mentioned that earlier. But anyways, jump in here and you can get to learn a little bit more about some of our photographers. There are many more, but these are the ones that are on our site here. So with that said, I think we're going to jump over to black and white now. So I'm going to have to switch to a very, very, very brief PowerPoint from our website here. So bear with me while I figure out how to get.
Easiest way is to drop the screen share and then restart the screen share. Pick the PowerPoint presentation window.
That, and we'll go to slideshow. Get rid of this.
All right. So while you're doing that, Jesse, either post your email address. If you don't want to do that, you can email me directly. I kind of want to make sure that you claim your prize before we finish the live stream today, so I know that I've got your information. Jeff, who won the SQ10, he's already responded, so I've got your information, so that's perfect. I just need Jesse's information.
So I think we have a few more prizes. You want to throw the next one up there for grab, Simon?
Which one do you want to do? Do you want to do the film pack?
Well, what are we talking about? Let's do some film.
let's do some film. So, what do you want to give away first? Which film pack do you want to give away first?
So we're doing the variety pack, right?
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I don't know why I'm zoning out today.
I'm not going to jump back to the the website there, but we're going to give away, and this is all 35 millimeter film, 2 rolls of the C200, 2 rolls of the 400, and 2 rolls of the Pro 400H, plus 2 rolls of our recently revived Fujifilm Acros 100 version 2. There's a slight difference between the original and the version 2. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I believe we have 2 of those to give away, don't we, Simon?
Which ones? The film packs?
Yeah.
Yes. So do you want to come up with a question this time round?
I wasn't thinking of questions.
Come on, make one up. Let's do a nice, an easy one for these guys, but something fun.
So which color reversal film is the professional landscape for boy, that tongue is not working today. Professional landscape photographer's film of choice. Again, which color reversal film was the professional, or is the professional landscape photographer's film of choice?
So I'm going to give you guys a hint. There are, on the same site, it shows up twice. Okay. And there are 2 speeds for it.
But there's one film.
But there's one film. Okay, that's a hint.
Okay, so
I do want to make it hard for them.
Acros. We'll do another film pack, which will be the same, and we'll wrap things up. So Acros, the first generation Acros was a well-loved black and white film, but in our consolidation of products, just to avoid red ink, really bottom line is what it is, not because we don't love film, it's just trying to maintain the black ink in our books. We discontinued the Acros 100, the first generation, about 2 years ago. I believe it was 2018. Again, we got a bunch of feedback from professionals and consumers alike. And we listened again. There was a component in the original Acros that was somewhat toxic to the environment, which we removed in the manufacturing process of the new Acros 102, which, by the way, is available in 35 millimeter and 120. There are no sheet film sizes in the Acros 2, Acros 102. But what we got out of the new Acros 102 is a film that is largely, I really can't see a difference, but in the scientific testing and people who really drilled into it, using the same processing, same developers, etc., they noticed a bit more detail in the highlights, better highlight gradation detail. So if you've got like a wedding dress that you might have been blowing out some of the details before, you're going to capture a little bit more of that. My mind always goes to the ocean because I love the ocean. I think of the already broken waves as the white water's coming in. Think about the detail there, and as the wave is kind of foaming towards the shore. So that is really the very subtle difference between the original Acros and the Acros 100 generation 2. Very fine grain, kind of like the Pro 400H in the contrast and I won't say color saturation because there's no saturation. That's black and white. Just in the overall look of the film, again, a very smooth, lower contrast film. But again, if you decide you want to make it more contrasty, likely you're going to be scanning it unless you have and I'll be really jealous of you if you have a darkroom with an enlarger and you're able to print it yourself and process that piece of paper in a tray. There's nothing like it. Photo 101 class was like a life changer for me. That's when I decided to take up this crazy career in photography. It's been an interesting ride. It's been a great ride. Lots of changes, as we all know. But anyway, I kind of digressed there about darkroom. But if you have a chance, to process and or print some of your images, go for it. It's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. It's almost a meditative thing. So anyways, I'll stop talking about that. That's pretty much it about the Acros 102, 35 millimeter and 120 only. Now you notice that the other packs of 120 films came in a 5-pack. So there's 5 rolls of film in that rectangular pack. The Acros 2 comes in single rolls of 35 millimeter and single rolls of 120. Depending on the format you shoot, there's typically 10, 12, 15 or 16 exposures per roll of 120. And the 35 millimeter is all 36 exposures.
Just out of interest, have you shot a roll of this yet? I'm assuming you've seen like the test ones or the test samples already, right?
I've given all my test samples away.
Oh, so you haven't gone through and shot a roll yet?
No, I was bugged so much by the people that process and resell it.
Right.
I only got a handful. I got 5 rolls of film. So
oh, gotcha.
I had to be super selective. And I said, okay, who does it better serve, me or somebody that...
Yeah, I get it. Because, I was actually quite curious to know... I know what Acros looks like from the first generation, and I'm hoping, based upon what you said, it sounds like you're saying that the highlights have more detail, but usually what that means to me here is brighter areas will tend to see more of a grain effect. Is that actually more of a smoother transition, or is it like a very nice coarse transition?
It's... check online.
Yeah,
there's been some people that have really gone to some, and that unfortunately it's not on our website. And I wish I had some images to share with you that I made, but unfortunately I don't have the old film. A lot of people kept some of the old film in the refrigerator or freezer, knowing that it probably wouldn't be back. But since it's back, some of them have actually gone to the take the time to compare the 2 films, and that's where some of this feedback has come from. In addition to the press release,
right, of course,
stated that there is better highlight gradation in this new film. So it's not a bad thing.
I'm looking forward to actually playing around with the roll of this stuff, because I mean, like I said, I've used for those of you who know, when I shoot just generic things, I tend to do more monochrome than I do color, because I just prefer the way monochrome looks. It helps me frame a picture better, and knowing the characteristics of different types of films has an advantage. So you're able to recreate a look. I mean, personally, I can't wait until this shows up in the store, because I know I'm going to run off with a roll right off the bat, just to go play around with it. So hopefully,
I have 10 rolls coming, and we're giving away. I think we're giving away 6 today total. So everybody's being very tight with our with our no charge requests these days. And you know, we're feeling the pinch too. I mean, I know everybody's feeling the pinch, and with there are some exceptions, obviously, but you know, it's we're really closely looking at our budgets. So normally I would order 30, 40, 50 rolls, but have to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about when we actually have it on sale at the store. I'm still going to buy a roll, one way or another.
I'll get you a roll, Simon. Don't worry about it.
Believe you me, I'll still be buying rolls, knowing me.
So anyways, that's what the box of 35 millimeter Acros 102 looks like. I'm going to jump over to something that you can...
Before you do this...
Back?
What's the name of the film so the person can win?
Oh, Velvia 50. Fujichrome Velvia 50.
Velvia 50, okay. Only one person got it right, believe it or not. Only one.
So that, we have a winner.
Yes, and it's Jeff Weiss again. He was the only person that got it right.
Go, Jeff.
I'm going to tell you now, Jeff actually shot film, so that's why he knew about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Jeff?
I don't know what he shoots. He's probably going to tell us any minute now. So Jeff, I swear to God, you guys, this isn't rigged. He is actually the only person that got the question right. So I already have your information. You don't need to do anything. We will get you out your sample pack of film, so you can whip out that 35 millimeter camera again and go snap happy. So you don't need to give me your info. I've already got it. All right.
Cool. Well, let's give away the next sample pack, and we'll wrap it up with the winner.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Okay, so we're going to do this one a little bit easier. The question is, what is the name of the company that is making this film? Okay, this can't be any easier. What is the name of the company that makes the film? So all you have to do is put in the answer into the YouTube chat, and we will pick a person pretty much at random to this certain extent, and you will win the next sample pack. We do still have other prizes that we will be giving away offline. So for those of you who are watching going, damn, I couldn't make the live stream, or I watched this a week late, whatever the case may be, do not panic. I will talk about, once we finish this presentation, I will talk about how you guys can win all the other stuff later, up until the 17th of July, I believe our last entry date is. So those of you who are watching offline or watching after the fact, you can still win. We have the Fujifilm link printer. Is that right?
Instax Mini Link.
Instax Mini Link. I actually haven't seen one before. I think we had them in the store, but I've never taken it out of the box.
Yeah, there are 3 different colors: a white, a dark blue, and a kind of a rich pink color. So that,
okay, don't tell them which color they're going to win, because I want this to be a surprise to them.
Yep, it will be a surprise.
It'll be an absolute surprise which color you get. You don't get to pick.
And you'll get 20 sheets of film of the Instax Mini film, which is exactly credit card size. And,
perfect.
So
anyways,
remember,
the question is, what is the company that makes this film, or makes the film that you've been seeing? All right, let's carry on.
So let me just give you a hint. There is a wrong answer.
Yes, there is a wrong answer. I'm going to be very avid, and we'll explain why in a second. All right, go for it.
So anyways, next, just really briefly, there is a dated, as you'll see here, if you can see the fine print, copyright 2005, professional data guide. I don't have all the pages here intentionally, but there's a whole list of different things here. A lot of information, a lot of technical information, a lot of it goes well over my head. Some granularity charts and MTS, or just all this stuff that I'm not really tuned into. I leave that for our technical experts. You can probably still talk to somebody at our 800 Fuji line that may be able to answer some of the questions. If not, I'm sure they can get the answers from one of our film specialists. But just wanted to make you aware of this. You can find it at fujifilmusa.com. You'll go into products, film, support. It's a little bit of a maze to get there, but it's a download. It's a PDF. We used to have them in printed form, but don't have those anymore. So take a look if you're interested. If you're interested in all the tech stuff, there'll be some stuff on reciprocity and a lot of products that we do not make anymore. So just rip the pages out or whatever. But it's a really good resource with some valuable information in today's world with the films that we still continue to make. And with that said, I wanted to wrap up on and I'm sorry about this graphic. I couldn't find the high res. It's really fuzzy. Anyways, hashtag I shoot Fujifilm. If you post some images up there using our films, like on Instagram or whatever, please feel free to use the hashtag I shoot Fujifilm. But I wanted to bring up a very important thing, and I don't want to make this sound negative. I just want you guys to be aware. If you're traveling through an airport and you're shooting film, you need to be aware of the X-ray machines, which for our films, 200 and 400, you can run them through there. I always request a hand check. The TSA agents don't necessarily like that. But, put your film in a clear plastic Ziploc bag or whatever so they can see it. Just ask them to hand check it, send the rest of your stuff through the scanner. But now, many airports are introducing some new style scanners. If you've traveled within the last 10 years since 9/11, you've seen the X-ray scanners with the belt. It's kind of square and boxy. The agent looks at it on a screen, then hopefully lets you through. But there are new scanners. They look pretty space age. I haven't seen one, but they look much more sleek. They will ruin your film, whether it's exposed or unexposed. If it's already processed, you're fine. It will cause some fogging, and we just suggest that you definitely hand check if you see a new modern machine. I recommend you hand check everything. I don't want to discourage you from shooting film because that's why we make it. We want you to shoot the film, but I just want you to be aware so that you don't have a moment that you're going, oh, I wish I had known that before I put the film through this machine. There should be signs posted on all the machines, but it's important because your images are important to you. We want you to be happy with the quality of the film, the images that you get off of our films, or any film for that matter. It's not just our films; it's any film. So it's important that you are aware of this. Is it going to ruin it totally? Maybe, maybe not. But we just, want you to take the precautions to avoid any potential surprises. And that goes for checked baggage too. Don't put your film in a checked bag because those checked bags go through the same type of scanner. And your check bags today will go through that scanner that will damage the film. So they're just implementing those same scanners to these TSA checkpoints that you walk through. So any carry-on bags, if you're carrying film, please get it hand checked, especially if you see one of those modern looking scanners. There's a great difference in the way they look. And I should have pulled the picture up of one of them. Unfortunately, I didn't, but you'll definitely be able to see the difference. So just be careful. And with that said, I think it's all right.
Yeah, I'm going to give just add a little tidbit of information. I do have a lot of customers who do travel, who do take film on a plane that hasn't been exposed yet. There is a hint that they've always given. Do not go out of your way to try and protect your film, otherwise they are more likely to tear the canister apart. Just be aware of that. So keep it very simple and obvious. Put it in a plain Ziploc bag with nothing else. Don't even put it in the little plastic holders. Just have the film loose. You hand it to them. You make sure you tell them that this is film, that it cannot go through the X-ray machine. Because if you go out of your way to try and protect it in a metal case, in some kind of inconspicuous way, they will go through it. And he had this one situation where they just did not even care about what he was saying. They actually opened up and take it apart to make sure that there was no drugs or paraphernalia in there. And it was a roll of exposed film for a client that they had completely ruined going through the TSA, and they just simply don't care. So just keep that in mind. Don't go out of your way to try and hide it or protect it or shield it from the X-ray. Be 100% transparent, no pun intended, and hand it to them.
Yeah, good advice. And also another tidbit that might just greatly simplify things is FedEx and the mail service are your friends.
So I had a comment here from one of our winners, Jessie. She said, I Shoot Fujifilm should be a t-shirt.
And if I had more of these, I would have included them in the gift pack. I have requested that we bring those back. And like we've discontinued other things, let's bring back the I Shoot Fujifilm shirts. So
we should.
I just sent in a request on Friday. So let's see what happens.
So here's a good
winners may get a surprise.
Yeah, maybe. Don't promise anything though.
I'm not promising it, but if you get and please don't ask me for a different size. But
one size fits all.
Hopefully.
Somebody did make a comment for a request. What I'll probably, I don't know who to pass this on to, but somebody mentioned bring Superior Premium 400 to the States. That's an interesting one because I have not seen Superior Premium in a long time either.
There are a lot of products that Fujifilm makes.
That are not products,
makeup even. A lot of things that they have in Japan, but we don't have here. Actually, I'll bring up we were talking about Velvia 50 and sheet films. You notice that there were no boxes of 4x5 or 8x10 sheet films associated with the Velvia 50 on the I Shoot Fujifilm site. It's manufactured in Japan and it's sold in Japan only. We've requested to try and get it here. Unfortunately, we've been denied. I know personally some landscape photographers that go to great expense to purchase the film or have somebody purchase the film in Japan. They've got connections. They ship it over. It's a bit dangerous sometimes. Sometimes it gets lost. Sometimes it gets damaged. But they continue to shoot their 8x10 and 4x5 Velvia 50, which is the film available in Japan. So what we would need to bring a film from Japan over is a forecast. And I'm not talking 10 rolls a month. I don't know what the threshold is, but it would have to be a significant quantity.
Yeah, with anything.
So talk to your friends. I'm not going to promise anything, but reach out to Simon. If you have a number, and it's going to be at least 5, 6 digits, I'm guessing. That's just a guess. Don't hold me to it.
Okay, so we do have access to some films from Europe that are not available over here as well. So there are a couple of
You
things.
do, I don't.
Yeah, I do. So, well, yeah, of course, listen to my voice. I'm from a European country. So, you know, if there is something very specific that you guys are interested in, there is no harm giving us a call to see if we can obtain it. There is a minimum order quantity for things like this because these are special orders. If they have them in stock, we will do our best to get them over here. All right, on that note, are we ready for the last giveaway before we finish off?
Let's do it.
Okay, I've already picked the winner ahead of time because I thought, why not? There was actually only one right answer. Barney, what was the right answer?
Fujifilm.
All right, so the winner is Richard Parent. Richard Parent, you are the winner. Richard Parent, you
All right.
are a winner.
That's why we put I Shoot Fujifilm, not I Shoot Fuji. About 8, 10, 12 years ago, can't remember that far back. In the US, we changed our name from Fuji Photo Film USA to Fujifilm North America. That was part of a global renaming project for all global Fujifilm companies to be consistent. We came out with this new logo, if you can see down here in the lower right of the PowerPoint slide. I have to correct myself all the time because for half of my career with Fuji, we were Fuji. And a lot of the marketing stuff was created with Fuji. And, you know, I don't chastise anybody for saying Fuji. I still catch myself saying it. But technically speaking, and our management team wants us to say Fujifilm. That's the name of our company. So anyways, congratulations on getting the Fujifilm answer correctly. And I just want to say thank you for putting up with me and Simon. Hope you learned a few things from us, and feel free to shoot questions towards Simon, and and if he needs some help answering them, if I need help answering them, we'll get you some answers. And
Yeah.
Do check the I Shoot Fujifilm website out. And if you post on Instagram, you know, throw in the hashtag. You'll be part of an elite group of oops.
Oh, that's all right. We can get out of the
Yep.
the thing now. So let's go back to speaker view. Right, do you want to end your screen share so they can all see us?
I can do that somehow. All right, where to go?
I think it just says end screen share somewhere.
Stop share.
There we go.
All right. You want to close it out, Simon?
Yeah. Sorry, there was one person, even though there was no question and answer for him, or so to speak, I'm going to give this guy a film pack as well. If I butcher your name, sorry. I'm going to call you Ash, because that's what it says, A-S-H. Ash, I will give you something, okay? And Richard, I need your email address, or you can email me directly. I think you just did. Oh, you just did. Never mind, I'll shut up. Please. So yeah, I will, Ash, I will give you something. I don't care where you are in the world. I will get you something. All right. So before we close out on this, there will be more to give away. I'm going to take a very quick break, and when I come back, and this is more for the people that are offline, we have one last presentation, which will be a video presentation from Savage Universal, Unfortunately, Mac Murdoch could not make it today because he ended up having a work commitment, which was kind of last minute. So hopefully he's out there and he's doing good, doing whatever this crazy job he is doing. But his work commitment kind of had to come first because, you know, we need to make money somehow to pay for our habits, regardless of what they are. I'm not saying that Mac has a bad habit. He buys a lot of astronomy equipment, put it that way. So yeah, Barney, thank you very much for being a part of this and doing all of this. And thank you for getting Caroline to be a part of this. And thank Fujifilm to be the sponsor for this particular live stream event. And I look forward to doing another one with you guys. We're not sure when we're going to do it, but a little sneaky peek, it is astronomy related. And you'll be introduced to Lewis, who works with you, Barney, obviously.
Yep, he's our technical specialist for our digital cameras.
Right. Who is also the resident astrophotographer.
So yeah, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah, so when you guys come back again, we will have you and Lewis doing their thing with an astronomy-related subject. I'm not going to go into it because, you know, that will give away too much. But again, thank you very much. Then thank you, Barney, for making this happen and supplying all the prizes to do these giveaways. It's always appreciated. And any last words for the guys out there?
No, just keep on shooting film. Let's keep film alive. I know that's been a term used by many others, but without, you know, your support, like I mentioned earlier, you know, Fujifilm, we run a business where film is part of our name. There are many other film products out there in the world today that are not related to photography that we manufacture. But, you know, our first love was film for motion picture cameras. Then it became still film, and, you know, the rest is history. But we don't want to make it history, so we need your support to keep it alive by continuing to purchase it, because if it starts to draw too much red ink, then, you know, that'll be a sad day if we have to make another discontinuation announcement. But just remember, we listen, and feel free to call our consumer products hotline and voice your opinions. With everything that they hear, every call that it's made, they record, and our management team is really, really good about listening to you, the people that use our products. So thank you for all of your support. We truly appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me and Simon. I enjoyed doing this. Wasn't quite 100% prepared.
No, we had. That was the thing. We had fun. I think the big caveat to this was the giveaway. I got to admit, I love it when we do these giveaways because it's just like, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Let's have fun. And congratulations to the winners out there. Enjoy your prizes, and we'll catch up to you guys next time.
Excellent. All right. So don't go away. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the Savage presentation and how to win the other prizes offline. All right. We'll see you soon.
See you later.
All right, guys and girls, we are back. So we're going to be doing the Savage Universal video presentation, which will be the last part of our talk. Mac Murdoch did have a work engagement, unfortunately, so he was not able to make it in the end. But, you know, I don't feel bad for him because he's working on a Saturday, and well, so am I. But I'm going to be off in a second, so haha, you're still working, I'm not. Again, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I hope you guys have learned something, because I certainly did about certain things. And thank you for the person who sent me the link to find those sprockets, because now I know where to get it from, because I'm going to get me some now. So for those guys who want to win the link, and we do have a couple of more film packs, you will need to check out our Instagram website, Instagram feed. So you can either do the WH Camera or the Darkroom Lab, or telescopes.net. I'm sure if you go to our website, telescopes.net, you will get all of that. Make sure that you subscribe to our mailing list, because all the information will be given specifically on that for the giveaways for the Instax link and the other two film packs. So of course, for you guys who are watching offline or watching this at another time, we haven't forgotten about you. I know Saturdays are a very, very tough day for you guys to watch this. So keep an eye out for the actual competition that we're going to be running for you guys to win the film packs and the link. So feel free to post questions. If you have any questions, you can actually call us directly. The number, because I know our 800 number hasn't been working correctly, the number to call us on is 818-347-2270. You'd have thought I'd have known this by now, but I don't, because I only know the 800 number. So the local number is 818-347-2270. If you have any film-related questions, feel free to give us a call. Our staff will be more than happy to help you with anything film-related. So, of course, yes, we do process and develop, and yes, we do sell film. We do color, black and white, you name it. The only thing we don't do in-house is E6. That is sent out. So just be aware of that. If you do have E6 processing, that has to be sent out. For those of you who are not here in Los Angeles, you can actually mail us your film, and we can have it shipped back out to you. Again, all of that information is available on our website. So if you haven't gone to the website before, Room Lab. Let me just get it up on the screen. So there it is, so it's darkroomlab.com, darkroomlab.com, and you can do prints online, you can do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And hopefully we'll see more of you guys playing with 35mm film again, because it is actually quite fun. So let's get this going. This will be the last part of our presentation for today, and we're going to go over to our Savage presentation. So here we go.
The Savage RGB Pro panel is a soft light panel that can handle any need from photography to videography. With two different light modes available, users can adjust the color temperature anywhere between 3200 and 10,000 Kelvin, or switch over to RGB mode and select from 360 unique colors to display. Like the color but not the intensity? No problem. You can also adjust the saturation of any selected color. The light's desirable 3-chip design utilizes both CRI 97 amber and white chips, so that color accuracy will not degrade as the temperature is adjusted. Control the light using a sophisticated back panel via DMX or with the free and easy-to-use Savage Light Manager mobile app. With the mobile app, select any color or temperature with a simple touch, or browse between a variety of special effects including pulsing to music files, fading through the colors of the rainbow, or even police sirens, and many other lighting effects. This LED panel is available in a 50-watt and a 100-watt power option. The Savage RGB Pro panel makes a great addition to any professional videographer's lighting arsenal. On-location work is hassle-free with a padded carry bag, secure locking power supply, and fully adjustable barn doors. The Savage RGB Pro panel can also be powered with an optional V-mount battery, making it the perfect light for run-and-gun applications requiring fast setup. Match any ambient light from 3200 to 10,000 Kelvin for on-location interviews and produce a professionally lit set without breaking the bank. Transition from a standard film setting to more creative projects with just the flip of a switch. Adding color to a photo or video can be as subtle or dramatic as any scene calls for, and with over 35 preset patterns, let the lights do the work for you, or fine-tune the look by customizing speed, hue, saturation, and intensity. Whether in the studio for a creative music video shoot or out on location for an important documentary interview, the Savage RGB Pro panel offers an ultra-versatile, affordable light source that's equipped to stand up to the test. Will you be adding the Savage RGB Pro panel to your production kit for your next creative project?
Savage is proud to introduce the first portable, shapeable, speed light and softbox capable LED light source with a lightweight battery designed for photographers and videographers. The Savage Light Shaper Flexible LED Pad gives the user a versatile constant light solution that can be adapted to several beneficial uses. Measuring at 10.5 by 12 inches, this ultra-thin pad has a flexible construction, which lets the user bend and curve it for a custom light output angle. A metal frame and shoe mount with a light stand adapter is also included to allow for easy light stand mounting. Velcro straps along the front and back edges make it simple and quick to apply the diffusion panels and position on a speedlight. LED chips line this full 9-inch by 9-inch front panel. They provide a low heat emitting 5700 Kelvin daylight balanced constant light source that is great for both photo and video use. The CRI measures 93. The light's ability to render color naturally is highly accurate. With both AC and DC power options, the LED panel can be easily transported to location shoots or left set up in the studio. With a 3.5-hour runtime, the battery is lightweight, so you'll have no issues mounting the light shaper to the speedlight, even with the power bank attached. A remote control is included that allows the user to independently control up to 4 light shapers from anywhere on set. Now let's take the light shaper in the studio and see it in action. Now right now I'm using the light panel with the diffusion over it, over a speed light to give it a nice soft diffused light. I have it synced up with another speed light there. It's going to go and it's just going to flood the area with light. Let me go ahead and take a shot here. Beautiful. One more, a little tighter shot there. There you go. Lift the chin just a little bit right in there. Thank you. Take my picture, my flash fires. I have to see where my shadows are. Now with these light panels on the speed light, I can turn them on. Now I'm able to see the light, so that way whenever I can actually tell if my flash is hitting the background or not. Now I'm using this as a modeling light, so I'm going to bend the light shaper, and as you can see, it's not contaminating the back end. I know that my flash is not going to hit the back end, it's hitting my subject. Because the light produces 680 lux at 1 meter with the diffusion off, you can also use it by itself as a strong constant light source. With the diffusion panel attached, it still puts out 480 lux at 1 meter, creating a soft diffused look, great for portraits. Using the Savage ModMaster multi-fabric softbox, you can also easily attach up to 4 light shapers inside with the convenient Velcro strip. This would be an advantage when working on set where you need to switch between photo and video often. With today's studio strobes, they're using LED for the modeling light. For the battery operated flash that you can take anywhere, it saves battery power, but it really doesn't give you enough power to really look at your shadows and or use it for a constant light source to do video and or photo. With the panels that can go inside the ModMaster multi-fabric softbox, this is beautiful light. We changed some things here. We went to a paper background. It's Savage Black. In order to get it black from the exposure that we have here, you're almost guaranteed that if this is 4 stops under than what your exposure is up to your subject, it's going to be black. Now my hair light right now, I'm not using it. Normally I would guarantee that you would want to use a hair light, especially with black on black, because it gives you separation from subject to background. With blonde hair, you want to be a stop under. With black hair, you want to be a stop over. And with no hair, you don't want a hair light. So now we're outside. We're going to be doing some flash photography because we're going to match the ambient light from the sun, but we're also going to use the LED pads inside the box to give us nice, beautiful, soft. But once that sun dips down enough, we'll have enough power out of these LED pads to illuminate her and match the ambient light. There you have it, the Savage Light Shaper Flexible LED Pad. It's portable, it's shapeable, it's lightweight. It will make a valuable asset to your video or photo toolkit. The patent pending design does it all.